A wealthy and beautiful California woman, Mrs. Patricia Gregory, has spent 14 years searching the world over for her little daughter, Joan Gregory. 14 years ago, Mrs. Gregory, her husband, and baby daughter were shipwrecked in the South Pacific. Everyone on board was believed lost except Mrs. Gregory, but she has always felt that her little girl was also saved. This belief has caused Mrs. Gregory to offer a large reward for news of any young white girl found in the South Sea Islands who might prove to be her daughter. 14 years she has waited in vain, but now the story begins in Los Angeles. It is just 12 o'clock midnight. A police radio car is cruising near Mrs. Gregory's home.
Car 67 at Western and Slauson a 5. Car 67 at the service station, Western and Slauson a 5. Car 14.
That's us. Let's hear it then.
Calling car 14. Car 14 in North Chester Place, near the Adams Street entrance. Investigate a prowler, North Chester Place near Adams. That is all.
Cut him off. We'll have a look around.
We're right in that block now.
Yeah, slow down. This ought to be it.
I thought I saw somebody on that lawn there. That's the Gregory place, isn't it?
Yeah, there is something moving there. He's up the driveway, right behind it. Where you going, buddy?
Who wants to know?
Hold it right there and I'll show you. Hold it there, kid. I want to talk to you.
Hey, why don't you take that flashlight out of my eyes so I can see who you are?
It's a lot more important that I see who you are. What are you doing here this time of night?
Well, suppose you tell me what you're doing here, and then maybe I'll tell... Oh, golly, Whiskers. I didn't see your uniform at first. The cops, huh?
Right, the cops. Now can you remember what you're doing in this driveway?
Well, I might live here.
Ah, you might, but you don't. We got a call on you as a prowler.
A prowler? I'm looking for a lady's house. That's not prowling, is it?
Well, depends on whether the lady wants you to be looking for her. This is Mrs. Gregory's house.
Honest? She's the one I'm looking for. Much obliged. I'll go and see her.
Hey, not so fast, buddy, not so fast. Do you know Mrs. Gregory?
No. But I've got some news for her. I heard about her little girl being lost in the South Seas on a magic island, and I thought...
So, her little girl's lost on a magic island, eh? And her mama don't know it, but you're going to tell her. Well, I'm Santa Claus, and I'm taking you to the North Pole with me. Come on.
Hey, let go of my arm.
Oh, you're going to the station house. Come on.
Hey, no, I'm not. Help! Help!
Oh,
Mr. Gregory!
Will you shut up?
Somebody help! Hey there, you!
Hey, now you walk him up in the Gregory house.
I hope I woke
somebody's
up the whole
coming.
block.
Take it easy, son. Now take it easy.
Here, that's no place to stage a fight.
Oh, well, we picked this kid up in your driveway on a prowler car.
I'm not a prowler, honest. I've got to see Mrs. Gregory right away.
Well, it isn't so easy to see Mrs. Gregory at midnight. What's your business here?
The kid's having a pipe dream about Mrs. Gregory's little girl floating around Australia on a magic island. I'll see that he don't bother you anymore. Come on, son.
Wait a minute, hold it, officer. Did you say Mrs. Gregory's little girl?
You bet he did. But nobody's going to get a chance to laugh at me again. I'll tell my story to Mrs. Gregory, or not at all.
All right, officer. I'll be responsible for this boy. If he's not what he represents himself to be, I'll send for you again. My name's Bradford. I'm in charge of...
Oh, that's all right, sir. I know you, Captain Bradford. Call us if you want anything else. And let us know how the kid's magic island comes out.
I'm sure glad you came out, sir. He was going to take me to jail.
Well, if your story doesn't sound just right, you'll still get a chance to go. Come on up to the house now. We'll meet Miss Gregory.
I know she'll want to hear my story, but I kind of hate to get her up at this time of night.
Never mind that. Miss Gregory and I were just going out. You go open the door there and go right in. I'll follow you. Go on in, kid.
But you ought to go in first.
I'll be the judge of what I ought to do. Go on in. Now, straight down the hall to that lighted arch.
What's going on, Tex? I thought I heard... Oh.
Are you Mrs. Gregory?
Yes, I'm Patricia Gregory.
Let's go in and sit down, Pap. I'm anxious to get a good look at this young fellow.
Say, Mrs. Gregory, your butler is mighty suspicious of me.
Butler?
I'm sorry, Tex, but you should see your face.
Butler. What makes you think I'm the butler?
Well, heck, Nobody but a butler could act as suspicious of anybody as you do.
You're wrong, young man. Captain Bradford is in charge of my affairs. Manager of my estate, master of my yacht, pilot of my planes, and... But hadn't you better introduce yourself?
Yes, we'll ask a few questions now, son. You sit over there. Keep your hands in sight. Patricia, you stay near me.
Don't be absurd, Tex. What danger could there be? He's only a boy.
Yes, and Billy the Kid was only a boy when he had to put extra long handles on his guns to hold the notches.
Say, I've had about enough of this. I've got something to tell Mrs. Gregory. Do I get to tell her or don't I?
Of course you do. Keep quiet, Tex, and let the boy talk.
Thanks, Mrs. Gregory. Well, my name is Jerry Hall. This afternoon, I picked up a radio message on my shortwave set on a band I'd never heard anything on before. Somebody was talking in funny broken English and said that an old sailor was very sick in a hospital somewhere near Honolulu. I guess he didn't say.
There it is again, the same thing.
Wait, Tex. Go on, Jerry.
Well, I guess this old sailor was so sick, he didn't know what happened to him. He was raving about how he'd escaped from a magic island in the South Seas and about a beautiful little white girl that was living there with some strange people. Well, I read all about your little girl being lost in the shipwreck when she was a baby, and I thought that, well, that is... Gosh, I guess it sounds kind of foolish when I try to tell it.
No, it doesn't, Jerry. It isn't foolish at all. And Captain Bradford and I are leaving tonight within half an hour, sailing on my yacht. And we're going to find out all about that old sailor and his story.
Well, I've been reading all about your little girl ever since I could read. Is it true that you were shipwrecked in the South Seas, just like the stories say?
Yes, Jerry, it's all true. We were wrecked in the South Pacific when my little girl, Joan, was only a year old. Her father was lost, and of course, everyone else thinks my baby was also, but somehow I've never quite given up hope that someday I'd find her.
And we've chased all over the world to see girls that people show to us to try and get some of the money Mrs. Gregory offered. But they never are the right one.
Well, how could you tell your little girl? I mean, if it really was her.
Joan had a tiny birthmark, a little star-shaped scar on the back of her neck.
Joan. Gee, that's a pretty name. Joan. I'll bet you'd be pretty, too. Maybe almost as pretty as you are, Mrs. Gregory.
Thank you. There you are, Tex. Jerry's a bright boy.
Yes, his eyesight's all right, I'll say that. We've got to go. You see, kid, we heard the same thing on the shortwave that you did. We're sailing just as soon as we can get to the harbor.
Boy, that's slick. Will you take me with you?
Will we do what?
Take me along, will you? Oh, please.
Why, Jerry, we couldn't do that. We hardly know you. And you're so young, you can't be out of high school yet.
Well, I know my dad would let me go. And I know a lot about boats and aeroplanes and radios and all that sort of stuff. And I'd work hard on the yacht and... Oh, golly whiskers. How about it?
Not a chance. Out of the question.
I'm sorry, Jerry, but it just wouldn't do.
Beg your pardon, madam, but the car is at the door. Everything is quite ready. Baggage loaded.
Thank you, Johnson. We'll be out in a moment.
Very good, madam.
Now, Jerry, I'm afraid we'll have to say goodnight to you. It was sweet of you to come and tell us about your radio message. Won't you let me give
Oh, no, thanks, Mrs. Gregory. It was fun for me. You see, I've dreamed about finding your... Oh, well. Good night. I hope you have a lot of luck.
Thanks,
Good night,
Jerry.
son.
Good night.
Oh, say, I was just thinking, if he could only let me go, I'd telephone my dad. He'd let me go when I tell him how nice you are, Mrs. Gregory.
Oh, Jerry, you're nice about this, and I would like to take you, but it wouldn't do, would it, Tex?
Sorry, kid, but it just isn't in the cards.
Boy, I'd sure like to see that magic island. The broadcast said there was something mysterious about it. How ships tried to sail up to it and couldn't, and that it was big but invisible. He gave the exact position. It might be true.
Afraid not, Jerry. We've sailed through there on 2 steamer lanes. There isn't an island the size of a watermelon that isn't on the chart.
Well, I guess I'd better go now.
I'll see you to the door.
Are you afraid I'm going to take something?
No, but I'm going to take something. Something to remember you by. Open the door. Go ahead. Open it.
Gee whiz! That flashlight nearly blinded me.
Sorry, but we like to take pictures of the people who come to see us at midnight, and we like to know when they open our door, too.
But when I came in, I opened the door myself, and nothing happened.
And I had the flashlight shut off. Now go on, kid. Get out.
Oh, I'm sorry I bothered you, sir. Good night.
Tex, why were you so rough about sending him out?
I just got an idea. That boy's smart. He could have broadcast that message himself just to get a trip to the islands with us.
Oh, I suppose so, but I do wish we could have taken him.
Well, it might have been wise at that. And I could have kept an eye on him till we ran the story down.
Oh, well, forget it. Hurry, Tex. Johnson's waiting in the car, and Jameson will lock up until we return. To the harbor, Johnson.
And step on it.
Johnson. Oh, Johnson.
Yes, madam.
We're awfully crowded back here. Couldn't you find room up front for this roll of steamer rug?
I tried to put the roll up here, but he wouldn't have it.
Who wouldn't have what?
The young gentleman inside the rug, sir.
Huh? Say, Pat, there is somebody inside this roll.
And I can guess who it is.
I didn't think you'd find me till we got to the boat. And then maybe you'd take me with you.
I ought to wring your neck.
Now, Tex.
Oh, I know, Patricia, but...
Gee, Mrs. Gregory, that's an awful pretty name, Patricia. Oh, now look, I'm plenty big enough to go with you, and we'll telephone my dad from the dock, huh?
How about it, Tex?
Nope.
Oh, now, Tex.
No. You got her on Miss Gregory all right, Jerry, but you can't do that to me.
Oh, no, sir. I wouldn't try to get around you. I can see that nobody could do that. You're too smart. But I would like to sail with you. I could learn a lot from a man as smart as you are, Captain Bradford.
All right, you win, kid.
Golly whiskers! To the harbor, Johnson, and step on it.
When Jerry Hall went to find Mrs. Gregory's house at 12 o'clock at night, he sure got himself into a lot of excitement, and possibly some trouble. A police radio car picked him up as a prowler. But finally, Jerry talked himself into the Gregory house and got a chance to tell his story to Mrs. Gregory and Captain Bradford. It's a wild story and one that few people would believe. But Mrs. Gregory and Tex Bradford are adventurers who live in a world where impossible stories come true. We find the three of them now on the afterdeck of Mrs. Gregory's magnificent yacht, the Joan Gregory. The yacht is well out of Los Angeles Harbor, and the lights of San Pedro are fading astern. It is 2 o'clock in the morning.
Golly whiskers. We're really on our way to find the magic island.
Not much magic in a wild goose chase like this.
Now, Tex, let Jerry talk. We've been disappointed on so many of these trips to search for Joan that it's nice to have someone with us whose belief is fresh and strong.
Okay, Patricia, but I don't want you to feel too badly if this tip doesn't amount to anything.
But gee, Captain Bradford, there must be something to this. We both got the same radio message.
Yeah, that's what's too good to be true about it, son.
You're the most suspicious fella I ever met.
Never mind, Jerry. The captain has all my interests to look after, and his suspicions are my protection.
All right. I'm on the yacht with you anyway, and we're going to Honolulu, or wherever that message came from, and see the old sailor. Then we'll get all the story and know just where to go in the South Seas to find your little girl.
It all sounds mighty easy the way you tell it, Jerry. But there's a lot of water between here and the islands, and 14 years have been torn off the calendar since the shipwreck.
You're right, Tex. And I suppose it's foolish of me to pay too much attention to this message, but I've never believed that Joan perished in that shipwreck, and I just can't give up trying to find her.
I'll help you all I can, Mrs. Gregory. Golly, but this is a swell night, isn't it? Just look back there at the shoreline. All those lights getting smaller and sort of twinkling, like stars do just before they go out in the morning.
It's beautiful, Jerry. The only thing I like better than sailing out of this harbor is sailing back into it again.
Well, if you two can be spared from the poetry class for a few minutes, we'd better get to the radio cabin. I want Jerry to get acquainted with our set. Then we'll have to turn in. It's after 4 bells.
Oh, boy. 2 o'clock in the morning.
And time you were asleep, Jerry. Let's go in the cabin with Tex and see the radio, then we'll all turn in.
Captain.
Here comes the skipper. Pat, you take Jerry in the cabin. I'll check with the skipper and join you in a minute.
Come right in, Jerry. I'll show you around.
Boy, is this a radio cabin or is this a radio cabin?
Everything shipshape, skipper?
Aye.
We don't know what our course is to be, but for the time being, we're chasing a radio message that probably came from somewhere in the Hawaiian Islands. So just hold the general course on the regular lane until I change it.
Aye.
We've a new hand aboard. He'll help me with the radio. I'll fix it with Sparks, and he can split a watch with you.
Aye.
Better turn in now, skipper. You can take over after daylight, and I'll join you in the chart room for some skull practice on navigation to imaginary points. We've got to locate a magic island.
Who?
All of us.
Nuts.
Who?
Everybody.
Well, maybe you're right, skipper. But just the same, that's what we're looking for. Well, see you at breakfast. Will you join us in Mrs. Gregory's cabin?
Aye.
That's all, skipper. You can shove off.
Aye. Magic
Island nuts.
I don't blame the skipper much at that. Well, I see you've got the set warmed up, Jerry. How do you like it?
Gee, Tex. Captain Bradford, it's a darb.
Darb, huh?
It's all right, Tex. Jerry says darb is the highest praise he can find for anything.
So you think it'll do, kid?
Do? Gosh. I bet it'll get anything in the world. It's all set to go now. Can I try it?
Go ahead. And while you're enjoying yourself, you might as well be working. I'll see that you stand a regular watch here if you can handle that set right. That way I won't have to relieve sparks and can take it easy.
Why not let Jerry call Johnson and make our report?
What I had in mind. Work on 3 meters, son. Ask for J12C. That's Johnson, our radio operator and chauffeur in Los Angeles. Sign yourself as Jerry on J24Y. That's his yacht.
You can get this set down to 1.5 meters, can't you?
Yes, and we can work in that wavelength on our Los Angeles set too, Jerry. That's how we heard the message about the dying old sailor in his magic island with a little white girl on it.
That's where I got it at home, too. Gee, Dad and I thought we had the only set in the country that would work on 1.5 meters.
Yes, we thought we were the only ones. You and your dad must know something about radio to build a set like that one. Funny, too.
Well, no funnier than you having one. You see, my dad has studied radio all his life. He doesn't have to work anymore and just plays with it all the time. We can send on 1.5 meters, too.
Yes, I thought you could.
Why, Tex, what do you mean?
Oh, I know what he means. He thinks I sent that message just to get you to sail for the South Seas so I could get the trip with you.
Well?
Oh, Jerry, you wouldn't do a thing like that, would you? Knowing how much it means to me, how badly hurt I'd be if we made this trip and didn't find any trace of the little white girl.
I wouldn't do that for anything in the world, Mrs. Gregory.
Okay, son, we'll let it go. For now.
To the Gregory
Gee whiz.
There he is again.
What's the matter, kid?
1.5 meters.
To the Gregory Land Station, Los Angeles. To J12C, Los Angeles.
Now he's...
Quiet.
Calling J12C. Relay this message to Yacht Joan Gregory. Stand by for message. Cannot raise yacht. Relay this to them.
He doesn't know we can get him on the yacht.
To the Gregory yacht. You will not find the old sailor in Hawaiian Islands. Set your course south. Further directions later. Old sailor delirious. Probably dying. Keeps repeating position of island. Says his diary will tell you white girl living there. Island position. Latitude 29 degrees south. Longitude 124 degrees 30 minutes west. That is all. Repeat to Gregory Yacht. Repeat to Gregory Yacht.
Gee, the same thing.
Tex, the position was the same as given before, and the old sailor keeps saying there's a little white girl on the island.
Yes, yes.
What are you doing, Tex?
Checking my directional beam finders. We've got to know where those messages are coming from.
There's something wrong with them, all right, or they'd be signed. Why would anybody send a message without signing it, if they were honest?
Maybe they haven't got a licensed station.
Yes, here we are. He wasn't on long enough for me to get a very long curve on the graph for calibration. But one thing is sure. That message did not come from the west, north, or east.
Then it had to come from the south.
Yes, recording directional receiver shows only direct impulses. And the only place it was disturbed by those beams was through about a 60-degree angle to the south.
That's awfully broad, Tex. If the sender is any distance from us, that angle could spread out to cover thousands of miles of ocean.
I know it. But it's 10 to 1 that Johnson got it, too. We can check with him later. You and Jerry stick with this set to pick that fellow up if he comes on again. I'm going to change our course. We're heading south right away.
Oh, Jerry, I'm so excited and encouraged about it all.
Me too. Gosh. Even Captain Bradford seems to be taking it plenty seriously now.
That's what makes me so happy. Tex has been through a lot of these things with me, and he doesn't believe wild stories very easily. So when he gets excited, it looks as if we had a chance to accomplish something.
I've got a hunch we're going to find your little girl Joan all right. But what kind of people could she have been living with? I mean, on this island, that wouldn't let the world know all about it before this.
There are so many things that might have happened, Jerry. But if we really do find a little white girl on this island, and it is Joan, I won't care about anything else.
Well, when you have time, and if you want to, Mrs. Gregory, I wish you'd tell me the whole story of the shipwreck. I mean, just where it happened and how you were saved when everyone else was drowned. And what made you think your little baby was saved?
Of course I will, Jerry. And I'll start right now. We'd been in a terrific storm for days. The yacht we had then was very much like this one, except that it was named after me, the Patricia Gregory.
Oh, and this one is named for your little girl, the Joan Gregory, isn't it?
Yes. Well, we were making dangerously heavy weather of it, along the 30th parallel when all at once...
Say, wait a minute. The 30th parallel. This radio message. The 29 degrees south. That's near the 30th parallel, all right.
Why, Jerry, so it is. I didn't think of it just that way before. There's only about 69 miles between the parallels at that latitude.
How about the longitude? This message said 124 degrees and 30 minutes west.
That would be about right, too.
J12C to J24Y. J12C to J24Y.
Is that Johnson?
Yes, Jerry, acknowledge him.
Hello, J12C. Jerry Hall for Captain Bradford on J24Y. Go ahead, J12. Go ahead.
Never heard of you, Hall. We'll talk only to Bradford.
Can you beat that? That guy drove us to the boat, but he never heard of me.
I'll explain it to him, Jerry. Let me have the microphone. Hello, Johnson. Hello, J12C. Patricia Gregory to Johnson. Jerry Hall is okay. He's the boy we brought with us. Tex is out on deck. Jerry authorized to do relief watch on this set. Confirm receive that.
Okay, Mrs. Gregory. Okay, work with Jerry Hall on J24Y. Better get Captain Bradford in cabin for this message. Have important relay for you.
That's what we heard direct, I'll bet.
Oh, here's Tex now. Tex, Johnson's calling. Wants you to take over for this relay.
Okay, J12. Bradford, go ahead, Johnson.
Relay of message just received. Logged it on 1.5 meters. More about the old sailor and his island. Position repeated, correct as given before.
Break, J12. Break it, Johnson. Okay, J12. We got it direct. Now check your directional graph. Get me the best line you can on it. I'll hold the set open.
Checking graph now. We'll report when finished.
Now we'll have something definite to go on when we want to set our course.
Good old Johnson is always on the job. And his instruments are really better than these portable ones.
Maybe so, but, well, I don't understand how we can localize that radio beam better than you can right here.
He can, but he has a chart exactly like this one, in front of him at this minute. And when he gives me his reading, I log the line of it right here. Then extend the line I have from our reading, and the point where those lines cross should be a pretty accurate location for the radio transmitter we're receiving those messages from.
Beam falls in zone 1-8. Zone 18 south. 18 south.
Zone 18. 18 south. Okay, Johnson. Stand by.
Now, can you get at your figures pretty close to it?
If we were farther from Johnson, the angle would be better. The Tex should hit it fairly well.
By George, there it is. And those lines cross almost on the 30th parallel.
Golly whiskers. 30 degrees south. And the message said the Magic Island was 29 degrees south.
Nobody said anything about a Magic Island.
Oh, Tex, let Jerry call it anything he wants to. If we can only find it and my little girl is still alive.
Don't say if, Mrs. Gregory. We're going to find your little girl, Joan, on a Magic Island.
"14 years ago, Mrs. Patricia Gregory's yacht was wrecked in the South Seas. 14 years Mrs. Gregory has searched the world over in hopes she might find her little daughter Joan alive and well, though the world has always believed the child was lost in the shipwreck. Now the Gregory yacht, the Joan Gregory, is on the high seas, once more searching for little Joan. Captain Bradford is in charge of the cruise for Mrs. Gregory, and Jerry Hall, a young amateur radio operator from California, is with them. The yacht is 5 days out of Los Angeles, running through the South Seas. We find Mrs. Gregory, Captain Tex Bradford, and Jerry Hall in the chart room on the Joan Gregory.
Gee, but it's great to be really in the South Seas with you, Mrs. Gregory. Now that Captain Bradford has quit being suspicious of me.
You could hardly blame him, Jerry. You didn't know there was another radio in the country that would receive on that wavelength, much less transmit on it.
Oh, forget it, son. I guess you'll do.
I only hope we won't be disappointed. If we do locate this island, and if the little girl on it is... Oh, if she only could be my little Joan.
Now, Patricia, don't get too worked up over this story.
But this is the real thing. I know it is. Nobody would make up a story like that about your little girl. And look at the way those mysterious radio messages have kept coming in every day we've been at sea.
I know, Jerry, but people have made up some wild tales to try and get some of my money. You know, I've offered a big reward for news of Joan.
It's swell you named this yacht after her.
I've thought and prayed of nothing but Joan for 14 years. Now, I may be near her at last.
Well, if there's any truth in this story, we'll soon know it. We're about 4,000 miles from Los Angeles.
Are we getting close to the island?
We're getting close to the spot on the chart where the old sailor said the island was, if that means anything.
We've just got to find an island where he said it was.
But the chart shows there isn't an island anybody could live on within 100 miles of the position the old man gave.
Right, Jerry, and the chart is probably correct. We'll keep looking around. A lot of ocean in this vicinity. And if there is such an island...
Tex, you do think there's a chance, don't you?
Now, don't get your hopes up. There's always a chance of anything happening in the ocean. Come in. Come on in, Skipper. What's on your mind?
Radio.
What about the radio?
Message.
What about?
Sailor.
Let's have it quickly, Skipper. More news about the island?
No.
Come on, Skipper, out with it. What about the old sailor?
Dead.
Dead.
Dead?
No more news, eh?
No.
That all there was to it?
Yep.
Then we know as much as the old sailor will ever be able to tell us about his magic island and the little girl on it.
I'm afraid so, Mrs. Gregory. But if the old man told the truth about the position of the island, we can find it easy enough.
That all, Skipper?
No.
Got something on your mind?
Yep.
Let's have it.
Come.
Me?
You.
I'll be with you in a minute, Skipper. We've got a little work to do on this chart now.
Now.
Important?
Very.
Okay, you and Jerry work on that chart, Pat. I've got to go up on the bridge with the skipper.
Gee, Captain Bradford's sure a dandy fella, isn't he?
I think so, Jerry.
Uh-huh. I can see you do.
Why, Jerry.
Oh, I don't mind. It's all right with me.
Well, thank you, Jerry.
Oh, that's all right. Say, there's something I don't quite understand about this boat of yours.
Yes?
That funny old guy that was just in here and won't say more than a word at a time, he's the skipper, isn't he?
Yes, and though he does have a peculiar way of speaking, he's the best yacht captain I've ever seen.
Oh, sure. Anybody can see he knows his business on the water. But what I mean is, well, you call him skipper and Captain Bradford captain. Now, all the boats I ever heard of, there was only one skipper, and he was the captain. Or only one captain, and he was the skipper. Or only one... Oh, now I'm all mixed up.
Well, that's easy, Jerry. The skipper, Captain John Craig, is captain of my yacht. Captain Bradford's title is from the Army, and he acts as master and owner's representative when we're aboard the Joan Gregory. Anything else you'd like to know about me?
Well, gee, I don't mean to be rude, Mrs. Gregory, but you made me tell you all about myself, and you even had my dad come down to the dock and asked him a lot of questions.
So we did, Jerry. You must remember that you came to my house at midnight, a stranger. And surely you understand that in a case like this, we couldn't take any chances with you.
Well, I'm taking chances with you.
I never thought of it just that way, but perhaps you are, Jerry. Very well. Cross-examine.
Swell. Your house was a funny place, with a front door that took flashlight pictures of a fellow when he opened it.
I have a great many valuable things in my home.
Well, that part's all right. But how about the shortwave radio in your automobile? You know, it's against the law to have a shortwave set in your car, unless you're working for the government. Say, are you a G-man? No, I mean a G-lady?
I'm afraid I can't answer that, Jerry. At least not until we know you a little better. In the meantime, you can safely look to Captain Bradford for all your orders.
I'm glad to get that much of it straightened out, anyhow.
And now that you're satisfied as to my officers, we'd better study this chart as Tex told us to.
May I ask you just one more thing about your little girl?
Of course.
Well, nobody knows exactly what she looks like now. But I've been thinking about that picture you showed me of yourself. You know, taken when you were about the same age Joan is now. Don't you think she would most likely look like that picture?
Why, I suppose she might. Why do you ask?
Well, to tell you the truth, Mrs. Gregory, I've been hoping she would look exactly like that picture.
Uh-huh.
Then if she'll only grow up to be as pretty as you are now, well, it's kind of nice for a fella to know what his girl is going to look like when she gets older.
Jerry, you're way ahead of yourself, I'm afraid. Why, you're just 16 now, and Joan would be barely 15.
Well, 16 is pretty old. I guess I know what I want. And when we find Joan, well, you see, I'll show you.
Jerry, you do help me a lot. I've been rather hopeless and doubtful about it all. You seem to be just taking it for granted that we're really going to find my little girl.
I've got a hunch. And when I get a hunch, everything's gonna come out slick.
Oh, Ted. What did the skipper say? What's wrong? The storm getting worse?
Sounded like it when you opened that door. But the boat isn't rolling any more than it was.
Oh, Tex, what is it? You look so... Has something happened?
I don't think so, yet. But if it hasn't happened, something is going to happen.
What?
The skipper took me up forward and showed me, well, things I'd never seen before.
Is the storm going to be a bad one?
Oh, that wouldn't make Tex act like this, Jerry. He's been through a lot of storms.
But this is different. This is one storm we can't go through.
What? Well, what do you mean, sir?
Just what I said, son. And if it doesn't make sense to you, then we're in the same boat.
Tell us what it is, Tex. Jerry and I aren't afraid. What's going on?
I've been standing up here on the bridge with the skipper for 10 minutes. The bow of this boat has been right up against what I'd call a heavy bank of fog, and there we stay.
Is the wind so high we can't make any headway?
Did you ever see a bank of fog stand? Stand perfectly still in that kind of a wind?
Tex, what are you getting at? A fog bank standing still in a gale. And the boat doesn't make any way?
No, you might as well come on deck, both of you. And you won't think it's just me that's crazy. Come on. Now, come up forward and see it for yourselves.
Golly whiskers! That's some squall, right? And we're running right smack into the center of it.
I've seen lots of these. Let the skipper make everything fast and we'll go below and ride it out.
You've never seen one of these. We've been right here with the prow of this craft hard against that fog bank for the last half an hour. And the engines are full speed ahead.
You mean that fog is holding us here just like a brick wall?
Bud, that's impossible.
I guess if the storm was hard enough, we'd almost stand still.
We might, Jerry, but that isn't it. Even if that could be the case, wouldn't this fog move a little? Wouldn't the roll of the boat change? And look around you. Wouldn't the storm be going someplace?
Golly gee, you're right, Captain. Look, Mrs. Gregory, the ocean is as smooth as if it had oil on it, everywhere except right in front of it. And the sky is clear. There is something funny about this.
What can it mean, Tex? I never heard of anything like this before. It's weird, uncanny. Just a smooth mountain of fog ahead, dead ahead. We're on the edge of a roaring storm, yet we can't see. We're all clear around us. The motors are nearly tearing the boat to pieces, yet we don't move. What is it, Tex? What is it?
Now, don't get excited, Mrs. Gregory. I guess nothing can happen that the skipper and Tex and I can't handle.
I'm not exactly afraid.
No, nor I, but I'd like it better if we could understand it.
Will you let me try something, Captain? I've got an idea.
That's one more idea than I've got. Go to it, son.
Well, signal the engine room for full speed astern, and let's see what happens. I never heard of a storm that you couldn't run into or out of or around or away from or something.
We'll try it, Jerry. Full speed astern it is.
Now they're coming. It's pulling hard astern now.
But we don't move. The yacht acts as if she was tied up by the bow. We don't move, Tex. We don't move.
Steady, Pat. Don't go to pieces. Well, Jerry?
That didn't do any good, did it? I give up.
There must be something to do. This can't be real.
Gee, that's funny. The storm stopped.
And the engine was stopped.
Everything has stopped. Why, there isn't a sound.
That fog is standing perfectly still and straight, like a gray cement wall. Only a little tiny piece of fog floating off into the still air. This is getting kind of spooky, isn't it?
There's something mighty wrong here. I don't like it.
But what can we do?
Yes, Skipper, what is it now?
Stop.
What stop?
Everything.
Generators and everything in the engine room?
Everything.
I'll get on the radio and see what I can raise.
Stop.
Well, we can run it from the batteries.
Dead.
Battery's dead, eh? And every instrument on board is stopped. You stay here and stand watch, Skipper. Hold the crew ready. I've got an idea. Come back in the chart room, Pat. You too, Jerry.
All right.
What are you thinking of, Captain Bradford?
Look at this chart.
Oh, our position doesn't mean anything if the instruments are out of order.
But the instruments were all right just as we hit this thing, whatever it is. We haven't moved since. There. Right there is our exact position. Look at it.
Oh, I see it now. Look, Jerry. We're there. This is the spot.
Then our position is right. The old sailor said, yeah, the ship won't move. That bank of fog. Sure it is. It must be. This is the Magic Island.
It all started in Los Angeles when Jerry Hall heard a radio broadcast over his shortwave set. The report said that an old sailor had been picked up from a small boat in the Pacific Ocean and had told a fantastic tale about a little white girl living on a mysterious island in the South Seas. How near the truth the old sailor was with his island of weird happenings, we shall soon know. Mrs. Patricia Gregory has come to the South Seas in her private yacht, hoping to find some evidence that there is such an island, and her little lost girl living on it. We find Mrs. Gregory, Captain Tex Bradford, and Jerry talking excitedly in the chart room of the yacht.
Now take it easy, Jerry. There's no such thing as a magic island or a magic anything else that I ever heard of.
Then how do you explain the yacht being stuck for an hour, held right here by a bank of fog? We can't go forward or stern, and every instrument on board is dead.
Jerry's right, Tex. There's more to this than just a storm or a fog or well, there is.
All right, all right. Now, Patricia, you just hold everything while we look this over. I don't want you to get your hopes up too high about this thing.
But this mysterious fog bank is right on the spot where the old sailor said the island was.
That's the whole trouble, Jerry. All we've got to go on is what some old sailor said.
But the radio report said he'd been a junior officer and a navigator.
Sure. He'd know about the position being correct and all that.
If he was in his right mind, yes. Don't forget that he was an old man, sick and delirious, nearly dead from exposure and fatigue. When he was picked up out of the open sea, he had no map, not a scrap of paper to verify the position.
But it said he left a diary on the Magic Island and that he kept it carefully for every day he was there.
Then why did he leave this diary on the island?
Well, maybe he was a prisoner there and had to leave without taking anything that belonged to him.
Oh, stop romancing, Jerry. You're raising Mrs. Gregory's hopes too high. She's been disappointed so many times in all the years she's been trying to locate this girl.
I know that. But this is near the spot where you were shipwrecked 14 years ago, isn't it, Mrs. Gregory?
It couldn't have been very far from here. I remember our position so clearly.
Well, the old sailor said we'd find something mysterious when we got to this spot. Well, gosh, that fog bank is mysterious enough, so part of the story is true anyway.
And if that much is true, why can't it be possible that Joan, my little girl, is on the island?
We've got to find out, right away.
All right, the yacht won't move and the fog won't move. If there was an island behind that fog, we couldn't get to it.
I know one thing we haven't tried.
Well, then let's try it. Try anything, only do something.
Captain Bradford, you told me that ray generator thing of yours would penetrate fog, didn't you?
Why, of course, Tex. You've been waiting a year for an opportunity to try your fog-penetrating machine. We can look right through the fog with that, can't we?
Well, we could if we could use the machine.
Oh, golly whiskers, that's right. The machine won't work. No generators. Won't the batteries pull it?
They would, but they're dead too.
But we just can't sit here and do nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pat, but there doesn't seem to be anything else we can do until that fog lets go of us.
Now look, fog can't hold a big boat. That doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, it adds up wrong for me too, boy, but there it is. The bow of this boat is held tight against a bank of fog, just as solid as if we were anchored to a concrete wall. The engines won't push us through the fog, and they won't pull us off the fog. Every instrument on board is dead. Even the radio tubes are paralyzed.
Then there's only one answer. Electricity of some kind.
But where would the electricity be coming from?
No good, Jerry. We might be over a magnetic field of some kind that would throw the instruments out of order. I've seen that happen in a lot of places. But enough real electricity to hold a heavy boat powerless? No chance.
Oh, yes, Skipper?
Hurry.
What's up, Skipper?
Loose.
I think we are myself.
Drifting.
We're drifting, Skipper. The yacht's loose?
Yep.
Get the engineer, quick. Full speed astern. Hold her there till we get away from that fog, or whatever it is.
Aye.
Come on, folks, let's go topside.
Oh boy, this is sure swell.
Certainly uncanny enough, Jerry.
Pat, Jerry, come here. We're backing away all right. There stands your fog bank.
Now, we can start your fog light gadget and try it out.
You think we can actually see through the fog with it, Tex?
I know we can, but wait till we're safely away from that gray wall.
Here comes the skipper on the run. I wish he'd get excited enough to say more than one word at a time.
Hush, Jerry. He'll hear you.
Generators.
How's that, Skipper?
Generators.
They working all right now?
Aye.
Then the other instruments ought to be all right, too. Let's check our position again.
Check.
Good old skipper. Where are we?
Here.
Oh, we know that, but where's here? Here, show us on the chart. The exact position is important, you know. Here, Jerry, help me hold this chart still.
There.
Look, Mrs. Gregory. We're right where the old sailor said we'd find the magic island.
Everything working now, Skipper?
Is the radio okay?
Aye.
Thanks, Skipper. Hold her steady now. Just keep the motors idling. If we drift away a little, let her drift.
Aye.
Can I try the radio now?
No, Jerry, let's don't call anybody in yet.
No, Jerry. If we have found something unusual, let's work it out for ourselves.
Oh, heck. I'm sorry. But I just thought of starting the radio.
Well, let's try my fog ray first. I've got my doubts about that thing over there. You and Pat stay here and watch that fog to be sure it doesn't disappear on us. Wake us up out of all this nightmare. I'll get my machine.
Gee, Mrs. Gregory, this is wonderful, isn't it?
Just like a fairy story, Jerry. And I'm so happy. I can't explain why. There isn't any real reason for it yet, but my little Joan seems so close now. For 14 years, I've never lost hope that she might be alive and well somewhere. And now... Oh, Jerry, if it could only be.
I know how you feel, Mrs. Gregory. Kind of empty one minute and full up the next. Like an elevator running up and down in your windpipe.
I couldn't have put it just that well, but that's exactly the way I feel.
Come over here, kid, and give me a hand with this thing.
Coming up, sir. Boy, that's a heavy contraption.
Captain Bradford has been working on it for years, and he expects it to do anything with fog.
Yes, it does work in fog. You know it does, Pat. Didn't we use it off San Pedro and see right through the fog? When it was so thick the pelicans were using foghorns?
I don't remember the pelican, Tex.
No, I'll show you in a minute. Here, loosen those wing nuts there, kid.
Aye, aye, sir. And don't you mind Mrs. Gregory, Tex. She's only kidding you because she's nervous, and she's just got to do something.
You're a sweet boy, Jerry. You do understand, don't you?
Well, I know how you feel. She's my girl, too, you know.
Will you two quit talking about something that hasn't happened yet and lend a hand here? We're about ready to try it out now. Our fog bank hasn't run away on us, has it?
Looks just like it did when we ran into it over an hour ago.
Run in the cabin, Jerry. Take this line and cut it into the power plug, will you?
You bet I will.
Oh, Tex, maybe there is an island behind that fog. The old sailor could have been right, you know. Hurry and try it.
Your tubes are warming up now. You'll be ready in a second.
Is it all ready to go now, sir?
All set, Jerry, and you can be the very first to try it if you want to.
Oh, golly whiskers. Can I?
Hurry, Jerry.
Yes, ma'am. Well, what do I do?
Well, now look. Extend that telescope out as far as you can. That's right. Then get down behind it. Put your shoulder against the stock and sight it just as you would a rifle. Now, when the fog begins to open up for you, run the telescopic sight in and out till you get the focus. And you'll see the ocean on the other side of that fog.
Boy, this is sure exciting. There now. I've got my sights on the fog bank.
How's the visibility?
Can't see a thing but a gray wall.
Well, hold your sights there. I'll run this barometer for you. Hold it steady now. Tell me the minute the fog starts to break for you.
Oh, hurry, Tex, hurry.
How's that, Jerry?
No, not a thing yet.
I've run through the whole visible spectrum. Here, let me take the sights, Jerry. That'll be about it. There, now gently back, so, and...
Have you got it?
What do you see, Tex?
Well, I guess that's that.
Oh, Tex.
4 years' work. No use. I'm sorry, Pat.
Gee, Captain Bradford, I'm sorry, too.
Well, I've been disappointed before, son.
That was about our only hope, though.
There may be something wrong with your instruments in that gadget. Can you check them?
No use, Jerry. They check themselves. When you hear that high hum the oscillator gives off, everything's working. Every single unit in that layout is connected in series. And it either works or it doesn't.
But I can't understand it, Tex. The ray worked so perfectly off the coast of California. That fog looked just like this one. Why wouldn't it work here?
Hold everything, folks. I've got an idea.
And there's plenty of room for it here.
You remember when we all came up forward here? When the bow was stuck right into that fog bank and the motors wouldn't move the boat either way?
Yeah?
Yes, Jerry.
We all crowded right up on the forward end, right against the rail, didn't we?
Go on, son.
What are you getting at, Jerry?
That fog was right against us. It didn't seem to blow around us a bit, but you could hear the rush of a heavy wind.
I noticed that.
Well, I didn't at the time, but I remember it now. Go on, Jerry.
Well, that fog was right against us. You could feel it. We were there for minutes and minutes, but when we got away from there, after we had been standing in the edge of a fog, our clothes were perfectly dry.
Jerry. Why, he's right, Tex. Our clothes were dry, and we did stand right in the fog.
You hit something there, kid.
Sure. And look, Captain Bradford's fog machine worked all right off the coast of California, you said.
Why, of course. It worked perfectly, yes.
That machine will cut a path through the heaviest fog I ever saw.
But it wouldn't go through this stuff. So there's only one answer. That fog out there is not fog.
But in the middle of the ocean, it's got to be fog. What you suggest is impossible, Jerry. Why, it's fantastic.
Look at Captain Bradford's face. He was laughing at my magic island a little while ago, but he's not laughing now, is he? I tell you, there's something mysterious here. And that fog is not fog.
After her baby daughter was lost in a shipwreck 14 years ago, Mrs. Patricia Gregory started searching the world over in the hope that her little girl might still be alive. Now Mrs. Gregory is again in the South Seas, and with her on her private yacht are Captain Tex Bradford and Jerry Hall. Jerry was a young radio operator in Los Angeles who received the first mysterious message about an old sailor having seen the Magic Island and the little white girl on it. The yacht is lying now completely becalmed near a strange bank of fog.
I tell you, you've got to believe me. You've got to believe me.
Don't get so excited, Jerry. We can hear you without your shouting like that.
Yes, take it easy, kid.
Oh, I'm sorry. But this is something to get excited about. You know that fog bank over there is not fog, don't you, Captain Bradford?
Well, it doesn't act like any fog I ever saw, Jerry, but what else could it be?
But, Mrs. Gregory, you still think it's fog, don't you?
What else can I think?
Well, you can think about the story that the old sailor told, and the Magic Island. That fog, well, or whatever it is out there, is just where the old man said we'd find the island, isn't it?
Right to the inch, boy.
And this yacht was up against it, in it. But we didn't get wet or cold from it. Fog is wet, isn't it?
Yes, of course.
And Captain Bradford's fog machine has always made a hole through every other fog he tried it on, hasn't it, Tex?
I've never found another fog that machine wouldn't penetrate to a point of fair visibility.
Then that stuff over there is not fog. It isn't wet, and your machine didn't even start to go through it. It looks just like a wall made of gray stone or cement.
Tex, you're not really convinced about this, are you?
I've lived a long time without seeing anything that looked like magic, as Jerry likes to call it, but I've never seen anything like this.
Well, I don't know whether it's magic or not, but it's sure funny. And there's another mighty funny thing about this whole business.
What else?
This ocean is too smooth right around the edge of that fog. Look farther away on the sides and behind us. The water is rough enough, but here, right here near that fog bank, the water is as smooth as glass. The boat isn't even rolling.
I noticed that, Jerry, and I don't like it.
Then there is something mysterious about this place. And if the island... Oh, if the island could only be here, and my little Joan alive and well on it.
Well, I don't know about the island, but I do know we ought to find out more about that fog stuff. Why not try sailing around it? Maybe we can see something from the other side.
Well, we did. What's the use? You couldn't see anything?
Tex, you've seen something you're keeping from Jerry and me. You do know something about that fog bank.
Do you, Captain Bradford? Do you?
Well, I didn't want to tell you. It doesn't help matters a bit. There's no use of all of us worrying about the impossible. But I do know a little more about that fog bank than you two.
Don't treat me as if I were a child. What is it, Tex?
Oh, we're stuck so bad now. that a little more won't scare me any worse. What did you find out, Captain?
Well, you and Mrs. Gregory remember that you spent a long time working over that chart while I was on deck?
Yes?
I mean, before I called you to come and look at the fog?
Why, we were talking about Joan and the Magic Island and all. Well, I guess we did talk a long time.
What were you doing, Dick?
Well, I was on the bridge, and the skipper will tell you this is the truth.
Yes?
Go on. Go on.
Well, we have sailed around that fog bank.
We've sailed around it.
Gee. Well, what was on the other side?
A fog bank.
Oh. Then it is just fog.
Wait, Mrs. Gregory. Go on, Captain. There's more, isn't there?
There's a whole lot more. From the circumference of the circle we described in rounding this thing, it must be about half a mile around it. Possibly a little more. And it's perfectly round.
That doesn't tell us much.
I want to hear it all, Dick.
No, I don't get you all worked up over it. May not mean a thing. But our instruments read exactly the same on all four sides of that fog.
What? You mean they didn't change at all as you went around?
That's it. And from our solar readings and my radio beam check, that reading is correct. Correct to a fraction of a second, but...
But what?
Hurry. Hurry and tell us, or I'm going to pass out.
The readings we took all around this thing belong in the center of it. Everything reads to a perfect center when you're sailing around the edge of that fog.
Then a regular vessel, I mean one that just sailing through here on a regular run, would skirt around that fog without knowing they'd run off their course.
I guess they would. We found nothing to indicate our course had been changed. And if we weren't looking for trouble, we would have figured the same as any other navigator. That we were just passing a small fog bank and not being compelled to follow a distorted curve around it.
Then that means just one thing. There is something behind or in that fog. Something. And that something is...
I'll bet it's the Magic Island. Oh, golly whiskers. We're here. We found it. Gee, Mrs. Gregory. Now we'll get your little girl back.
Not so fast, son. Even if there is an island there, what can we do about it? The yacht won't go through the fog. We tried that.
Then let's figure why it won't go through it.
That's out of the question, isn't it?
Nothing is out of the question with Tex and I to figure things out.
Well, just leave me out of that, Jerry. You figure this yourself. I'm stuck.
Well, if we can't sail through it, there's something funny about it. And something funny about a fog means it's being done on purpose.
Jerry, you mean it isn't just a natural phenomenon? That the fog is man-made, controlled?
How about those instruments, Captain? And the fog holding the boat just like a magnet. That's it. Magnet. Oh, giggling goldfish. Why didn't I think of that before? That fog is magnetized.
That's my idea, boy, but I hated to make such a wild statement.
That sounds possible. There are a great many magnetic deposits and formations in many parts of the world.
But don't you see, Mrs. Gregory? We don't mean a magnetic field that just happened there. That fog has been magnetized by somebody or something.
You think that's possible? You're not just excited and running away with yourself, Jerry.
Well, if he is, I'm running way ahead of him. Patricia, that fog bank is not ordinary fog. It's magnetized as surely as we're standing on this yacht looking at it. And there's probably an island hidden in it.
Well, but take...
And that's not guesswork. It's a scientific probability.
What else would have held our boat against that fog but a powerful magnetic force of some kind? And what else but a magnet? And a magnet with somebody running it would have turned the boat loose when it got ready.
Why, it's thrilling. But it's terrible, too. What can it mean?
It can mean we're up against the greatest piece of electrical or chemical wizardry this generation has seen. And we're going to see all of it.
Where do we start, Tex?
Start guessing, and as if you've done pretty well so far, Jerry. Suppose you take the first guess.
Well, isn't it better to do something you're sure of than it is to guess?
What can anyone be sure of in these weird circumstances?
Got something definite in mind, son?
Well, we can see what's inside that fog ring. If the little plane lashed to the deck, we'll fly over it.
Of course. Why didn't you think of that, Tex?
I did, but it'll take an hour to assemble a wing spread, lower to the water, and get ready for a takeoff. By that time, it'll be pretty dark. I don't like to try getting the plane back on board at night, except in an emergency.
Golly whiskers. Here you've got a magnetized bank of artificial fog right under your nose, and a magic island, and a... Well, how much do you need to make it an emergency?
Well, I meant a matter of life and death. That island, if it is inside the fog, has been there a lot of years. And it won't run away tonight.
Then we can't do anything until morning?
Oh, I guess not. Say, I've got it. I'll swim ashore. That's it.
You'll do everything else, boy.
You can't do that, Jerry.
I'll bet I can. And I bet I'll get through that fog, too. I won't wear anything that a magnet will hang on to.
And after you get through the fog, what then?
What do you mean? What then?
Mrs. Gregory and I are outside with the yacht. And if anything should happen to you, we couldn't get in there.
Why not try shooting through the fog?
No, you might hit... Of course, I mean, if this really is the island we're looking for, Joan might be hurt.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I guess we'll have to wait till morning.
I've got one small idea. Let's see. Skipper!
All right.
Now, will you step up forward here, please?
All right.
Now, Jerry, I want you to go into our cabin. Get that long black case, the one that looks like a violin case, out of the instrument locker. Bring it here and handle it as if it were eggs.
Right away, sir. I'll get it.
Sure. Skipper, the swell is rolling heavier now. We can't use the motors to hold our position as I need all the power in this cable here. Will you try for a good anchorage so I can cut all the juice away from the engine room?
Sounded.
Well, 3 fathoms?
Aye.
Can I help, Tex? I'm so nervous, but for once I seem to be helpless. I'm sorry, I've always been able to think with you before, but no,
I understand, darling.
Tex,
I didn't say anything.
I know you didn't, but I'm glad you said it.
Oh, I suppose I shouldn't have.
You shouldn't, and I've been waiting years to hear it.
Patricia,
Here's the case, Captain Bratt. Oh, golly whiskers. I guess you forgot the case, didn't you? I'll go back and bring it in again if you want me to.
No, Jerry. You just rescued me in time.
You don't yell for help very loud, do you?
Now, Jerry, come on, let's hook up the machine. Break that cable. Bring the shielded lead plug over here while I open the case.
Are we going to anchor here for the night? The skipper's paying out the stern chain.
Yes, Tex thinks we'd better not move till morning, and the skipper reports sounding's okay for a good anchorage.
Can I help with the machine?
Not yet, Jerry. I'm a little afraid to have anyone but myself handle it until it's set up.
It's sure a funny-looking thingamabob. What is it?
I never saw this before either, Tex. Is that what you've been working on so secretly in the laboratory?
I've done nothing else for over a year, and it's perfect.
What is it?
Well, I haven't named it officially yet, but I think I'll call it my stratoscope.
Stratoscope?
Well, what does that mean?
Well, it's a combination of strata and scope, as from stratosphere and periscope. In other words, it will do through the air, and at tremendous altitudes and distances, what the periscope will do within a very limited range.
I think it sounds lovely, Tex, but what will it do?
Left you behind that time, eh, Pat? How about you, son?
I think I know what you mean. You can look away up in the air, then away over someplace, then down again. Like seeing over the horizon. Isn't that it?
That's it exactly, Jerry, and I know it works. I've tried it over a 300-foot building. When I was on the ground on one side, the objective was on the ground on the other side, and I saw it.
And now you're going to look over that fog and down onto the island.
Oh, can we? Really?
I'm getting excited now. You see, it's a case of plotting the trajectory of the wave curve I'm sending out. Figuring the density of the exact strata in the atmosphere I must refract the wave from to bring it down to Earth on the desired spot.
But how do you see anything with a wave?
These waves will return to me with almost as great an intensity as they leave the instrument with. Then I merely catch them in a tuned wave trap. And with a light valve and converter, I project the image on this little ground glass screen here and... Pat! Jerry, I've got it! I can see it!
Is it the island?
Is it, Tex? What do you see?
It is growing dark. The magnificent yacht of Mrs. Patricia Gregory rides at anchor just off a mysterious bank of fog in the South Seas. On board the yacht, Mrs. Gregory, her business manager Tex Bradford, and their young companion Jerry Hall are eagerly trying an experiment. Bradford has just set up a unique piece of mechanism through which he can see over the horizon, or over a building and down into the street on the other side of it. Now the machine is focused on the strange fog bank, and behind this bank lies what? Will this prove to be the magic island?
What do you see, Tex?
Hold on, son. Don't get excited now. I think we've got something here.
Oh, please, Tex, may I look?
Well, of course, Pat. Go to it. You'll be next, Jerry.
I'm almost afraid to look. 14 years is a long time to look for something. We're almost afraid to find it then.
Go on, Mrs. Gregory. You'll never get Captain Bradford to tell us what he saw through that thing. Take a look for yourself. Gee whiz, if Joan is there, after you hunting for her for 14 years, you ought to be the first one to see her.
You're a gallant lad, Jerry. Oh, Tex, what did you see?
Nothing doing, Pat. Here, you look. I just got the range for you. But hurry now, it's nearly dark.
All right. Do I put my eye here?
That's it. Steady does it, Pat. I'll work that sextant just a hair's breadth if you want to.
Right.
Do you see anything, Mrs. Gregory?
Hush, kid.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think I see a group of people. They aren't very clear yet. No, that's better. The whole island shines, as if it were polished stone or some kind of metal. Now I see the group more clearly.
Yeah? What else?
Jerry.
Yeah, I know, but...
Oh, Tex. Jerry,
Oh, she's fainted, kid. Run and get a glass of water out of my cabin. Hurry.
Yes, sir.
Pat. Pat, you're all right, Pat. Just take it easy for a minute. Jerry's getting you a glass of water. There. That's better, Pat. Where's that water, Jerry?
I'm coming.
Oh, what? Tex. Tex, I saw...
Is she all right now? Is she all right?
She'll be all right in a jiffy. Hand me that glass of water.
Here.
Where's the water?
Huh?
Where's the water?
Oh, golly. I drank it myself. I'll get some more.
It's a good thing you didn't need that water.
I'm all right. Silly of me to do that, wasn't it?
Nothing you could ever do would be silly to me, Pat, but just what got you so quick? You saw something?
Tex, I saw that group of people. They're real, and they're on an island all right, and... Oh, it's almost too much to believe, but I thought I saw a young girl with them.
I thought I saw the same. And for your sake, I hope we're both right.
Here's the glass with the water in it.
Thanks, Jerry. Now I feel better. That's the first time I ever felt like fainting.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I would have fainted if I hadn't used the first glass of water on myself. I could tell what you saw from the way you acted. May I look now?
Help yourself, son.
Boy, what a thrill this is. Now, let's see. Huh. Looks kind of cloudy at first. There. There now. I can see better. This focus is easy enough. I got it. Gee. There's people there. People on the island right inside the fog. Whole bunches of them. But they're all men. Oh, no, they ain't. Hey, there's a girl with them. A girl, Mrs. Gregory.
Yes, Jerry, I saw that too, but don't hope too much.
Oh, nothing. That's your little girl. I know it is. That's Joan. She looks just like you do.
Now, Jerry, I made that machine, and I happen to know you can't distinguish features at that distance.
I don't care about her features. I'm talking about what she looks like.
Better let me take another look, Jerry. Getting dark. It's pitch black in 15 minutes. We won't get any twilight. Better learn what I can about our situation before we hold up for the night. All right now, Pat?
Quite all right.
I'll steady you up, Mrs. Gregory. You just hang on to my hand. I'm not nervous anymore.
Thank you, Jerry.
What do you see, Captain?
There's a group of people on the island, all right, and... Well, now, there's a funny one. They seem to be pointing something at it.
Bet they're gonna shoot. Let's duck.
Oh.
No, it looks more like a telescope. There's something like that, and they know how to look through that fog. They see us all right. Some of them are waving their arms and pointing at us.
Well, we sure couldn't see anything through the fog. Good thing you had this machine for reflecting your rays against the air over the island and looking down on it.
From the way they're acting, it's obvious they see us and see us plainly.
Is there any danger, Tex?
I think not. At least not so long as we just ride at anchor. Here, say something's happening.
What are they doing now?
They are not doing anything. At least not anything I can see, but the fog is. I've got it. They figured out that I'm watching them by means of rays refracted over the top of that fog. So they're closing it over the top.
Closing what over?
The island, all of it. You were right, Jerry. That fog is artificially made and perfectly controlled. Now they're covering up overhead with it. I can hardly see. That's all for now. They put a perfect roof of fog over that whole island, and it didn't take them more than 30 seconds to do it.
Then they did know we were watching them. Sure enough.
What do you think we ought to do now, Tex?
Nothing. Just nothing. It's nearly dark. There's no reason to fear anything, and they can't watch us any longer.
I'm getting a little chilly. Probably just nerves. It's anything but cold this evening.
Yeah, we'll go in the radio room and sit down and talk this thing over quietly. Oh, you're doing splendidly, Pat. I know what a strain you must be under.
This would be a strain for anybody. I'll go ahead and open the door. I'll
leave this stratoscope right here for the time. You take that easy chair, Pat.
All right.
Jerry, warm up the radio.
Oh, boy. Do I get to use it?
Go ahead, son. Let me know when it's warm, and I'll give you the message.
Now, Tex, tell me honestly, do you think there's a chance that my little girl is on that island?
After what we've seen in the last 6 hours, there's a chance for anything. I've never had any hope that you would find little Joan. Everyone agreed that you must have drowned in that shipwreck. And 14 years is a long time without news of her.
But now, Tex, now, don't you see that there's some reason that may make those 14 years of silence possible? That island is weird. It's mysterious. It's almost what the old sailor said it was. A magic island.
Agreed. And for the first time, I'm willing to admit there is a chance. A mighty good chance that the little girl on the island could be Joan.
How can we find out, and how soon?
We'll have to take our time. For one thing, we don't know what that island represents. Nothing in the ordinary or usual run of islands, that's sure. With all their fog machines or whatever they use to hide the island with, and their magnetized circle to keep boats off, it might mean a lot of things. And they're most likely all bad.
I've got the set ready, Captain. What's the call?
Call Johnson at J12C as you did before. Sign your name in the yacht call, J24Y.
Okay. J12C, J12C, Jerry Hall on J24Y to J12C. Hello, J12. Hello, J12.
Now hold it, Jerry. He's got an automatic recording pickup there. And even if he's out of the room, he'll get a sustained curve on his frequency disturbance graph when he checks it.
You're the most mysterious folks I ever saw. You've got yachts as big as battleships, private radio stations on wavelengths nobody ever heard of, and call letters like a kid's club. What's it all about?
You promised not to ask that again till we were ready to tell you, Jerry.
I'm sorry. But you'll be sorry if I die of curiosity.
Nobody ever died of it yet.
Well, I don't feel any too good.
Hello, J24Y. Hello, J12C, Johnson. Go ahead, J24.
Here he is. What'll I tell him?
Give him our position. Make the story about the island brief. Ask him stand by. If we do not report all clear by tomorrow noon, he has to ask DC to rush full protection. Story is for publication. He can use own judgment. Shoot it, kid.
Right. Hello, J12C. Jerry Hall for Captain Bradford on J24Y. Are you ready?
Go ahead, Hall. Go ahead.
Located island, surrounded by fog camouflage. Standing by for daylight to try landing. Boat held off this evening by magnetic ring in ocean, probably 100 yards offshore. Our position is latitude 29.
What's the matter, Skipper?
Danger.
What kind of danger?
Drifting.
Drifting? Well, what's the matter with your anchors?
Dragging.
Dragging the anchors? I don't hear any wind. What's going on?
Hurry.
Do I keep sending?
Stay right in there, son, no matter what happens. Stay with that radio and report in full to J12. Come on, Pat, we'll look around.
Are you still there, J12C? Hello, J12.
What happened? I can hear you very faintly, J24. Go ahead, Hall.
The boat is drifting. Captain Bradford and Mrs. Gregory have gone on deck with the skipper. No wind, calm sea, anchored in 3 fathoms, but drifting, dragging the anchors, no reason for it. Stand by for emergency flash. Got that? Hey, the lights are going out. Something's wrong.
Your signal is fading, J24. Standing by for emergency call. Are you getting me, J24? Hello, Hall. J12C to J24. Why, can you?
Oh, the set's gone dead, and the lights are all out. The same thing that happened before. I'd better get up on deck. Oh, golly whiskers. That chair hurt my shins. Where's the handle on this door? Ah, there it is. Oh, boy. Hey, Tex, where are you?
Come up forward, Jerry.
Where are you? I can't see a thing.
Right here, you nearly bumped into us. Your juice quit on you, didn't it?
Yeah, same thing we had today.
The skipper's working with the crew to get out a spare anchor over the stern, but we're already dragging 2 of them.
Well, if it wasn't so dark, we might see what's happening.
All we can see is a funny gray color, and you can't see much of that.
Tex, Jerry, I think I can smell something unusual.
Huh? You're right. I smell a gas or a chemical of some kind.
I know why it's all gray, and I know what the smell is, too.
The fog. Is that it?
That's it. And we're drifting into that island.
We're going through the fog, Tex.
I know it. Look there. Dead ahead. See that faint glow?
It's a little lighter up there, and the fog isn't quite so thick. That fog is some kind of gas. by the smell.
Doesn't seem to affect us any, though.
We're drifting faster, aren't we? That glow of light is rapidly getting nearer.
I hope we don't smash into something before we get on the beach, or grab a pier, or a dock of some kind.
Why should we drift to the island? We tried for 2 hours to get through this fog with full speed ahead, and we couldn't move. Now we're drifting through it.
You don't drift and drag 2 anchors in 3 fathoms of still water, with no wind and no tide.
We're not drifting?
I'll say we're not drifting. That magnetism is working again, only stronger this time. We're being pulled. This boat is being dragged to that island.
In the dark, mysterious South Pacific Ocean, a magnificent yacht is carrying its passengers and crew on a strange cruise. Jerry Hall has joined Mrs. Gregory and Captain Bradford on the Gregory yacht to aid in the search for Mrs. Gregory's little girl. Lost at sea when a baby, the girl has been reported living on a mysterious island. The yacht was anchored off a bank of what appeared to be fog, but was not natural fog. With the aid of apparatus designed by Captain Bradford, Jerry and his friends have looked over the fog and down onto the island. It is now after dark. The yacht is being drawn through the weird ring of fog, drawn without a sound toward the magic island.
But Jerry, how could we be pulled to the island by the same magnetic force that was pushing it away from it an hour ago?
Well, you see, Mrs. Gregory, magnetism works both ways. Maybe I can't explain it right, but anyhow, a magnet can either be fixed to attract or repel. Is that what I'm trying to say, Captain Bradford?
Well, at least you're heading in the right direction, Jerry. It's a poor electrical engineer that can't do tricks with an electromagnet and plenty of power.
Electrical engineer? I thought we'd find a tribe of savages on this island, if we found anything.
Yeah, that's what I figured, too. That old sailor, you know, who lived on this island or visited or something, and then got away, he reported that he'd seen a little white girl living here with a strange race of savage people.
Well, I'm not so sure of that, son. Remember, we got the story over our shortwave in Los Angeles. At the same time, you got it over yours. And if I remember rightly, the report said a strange race of people, not a savage race.
Tex is right, Jerry. It did say a strange race. Of course, we naturally thought of savages as the only sort of people who might be living unknown to the rest of the world.
Well, we know now that the people who made all these scientific things we're running into are not savages. It looks to me like they know a whole lot of things we don't.
No doubt about it. And while we just stand and talk on this deck, a heavy yacht with 800 horsepower motors is drifting helplessly into something we know nothing about.
Well, let's quit talking and do something. We're drifting into that island pretty fast now.
We're inside the fog ring now. Oh, if only it wasn't dark.
We'll enter the island pretty soon. But we're going slow. I guess it won't hurt the boat.
There's not a sound from anything.
Can't even hear a ripple of water. This water is oiled or treated with something to hold it still on the surface.
I can see a little light ahead. There's a yellow glow all over in front of us.
Nothing we can see distinctly, though. We're slowing up. The boat is barely moving.
Look, Tex. Can you see an outline there?
Where? No?
Where, Mrs. Gregory?
Just off the port beam, Jerry.
No, I don't see anything.
I do now. You're right, Pat. Look over here, kid. There's an arm jutting out right alongside the rail.
Golly whiskers. It looks like a dock. We're drifting right up to it.
Not drifting. Don't forget, son. We're being pulled.
That light ahead is getting more distinct. I can make out the shoreline now.
Funny shoreline. It looks so straight and smooth. See? See, it's shining in that yellow glow?
Hold it. Quiet, both of you. Not a sound.
We're rubbing against a dock, or a pier, or a landing of some kind.
I thought so. And the boat has nearly stopped.
It has stopped. We're not making any headway.
But the stern is swinging in near that landing. Gee, the boat acts as if it had a shoreline, and we're being snubbed in.
We are being snubbed in, and without a line. This yacht is being warped against that dock by the same force that pulled us through the fog bank and into this shelter.
But why don't we see somebody or something?
Or hear something. Gosh, any kind of a noise would sound good right now. Hey, we stopped. We're hard against the thing on the port beam.
Yes, we're here. And I'm afraid, Jerry, my boy, that we're actually on your magic island. Whether we want to be or not.
Want to be? Why, Tex, we've come thousands of miles to find this place. and my little girl.
Do you think we'll really find Joan here, Captain? Like the old sailor said?
We're liable to find most anything here.
Then let's start looking for it.
You better go into your cabin, Pat, and stay there while Jerry and I have the first look around.
I should say not. Wherever you two go, I'm going.
Where are we going, Tex?
We're going to step out on that dock, or ramp, or whatever it is, and see what happens.
Oh, boy. Let's go.
Steady, son. You go back and tell the skipper to stand by. Tell him he can quit worrying about his anchors. We're fastened to this island until someone else wants us to go.
Yes, sir.
And Jerry, tell the skipper to look sharp and give us a signal if anybody boards him.
I'll be right back, sir.
Oh, Tex, what do you think we'll find here? What's going to happen? What manner of people live here?
Hold on now, Pat. You know as much about all that as I do. We'll just have to ease ashore and keep snooping around until we find something.
Or something finds us.
You better stay aboard, Pat.
I'm not afraid. That is, of course I'm afraid. Horribly afraid. But you're all here because of me. It's my little girl we're looking for. And I'll go wherever you go.
All right. You're the boss of this expedition.
Everything's shipshape aboard. I gave your orders to the skipper, Tex.
Any comments from him?
Well, he looked plenty worried. And he didn't even say as much as he usually does.
That would be only one word at a time.
This time he just nodded his head.
All right, now here's our situation as I see it. There's no use making any plans as to what we intend to do, because we haven't the faintest idea what conditions we'll find when we get ashore. Now, we'll just step over on that landing there, keep close together, and walk toward that yellow glow of light.
Whatever you say, Tex.
Aye, aye, sir.
All right, now, over the side. I'll go first. All right, Jerry, come over. Now, Pat, give me your hand. Now, all stand still for a second. Try to get your eyes accustomed to this yellow light. What there is of it.
I can't see any better now than I could when we first saw that yellow light.
Neither can I. And yet, I can. There's something weird about that light.
I have an idea there'll be something weird about everything we see for some time to come. Now, Jerry, you walk on my right here. Pat, you on my left. Both of you stay close enough that we can rub elbows as we walk. And stay close. Now, let's start slowly and carefully toward that yellow glow. Neither of you speak until I tell you to. Ready?
I am.
Yes, Tex.
Not a sound. Here we go. And walk quietly. Stop.
What is it?
Did you see something?
No, and I didn't hear anything. That's what's wrong.
Oh, what did you expect to hear?
My footsteps. I felt this landing with my hands when we came off the yacht. And if I ever felt any before, it's made of concrete. But here are three of us, walking at a fair pace. I have on heavy boots with leather heels, and yet we didn't make a sound.
Oh, that's right.
Well, wait till I feel this stuff with my hands. You're right, Tex. That's concrete, all right. But when I felt it, I slapped it good and hard. It made almost no sound. Gee, do you think?
I think we've stumbled onto the greatest scientific miracle of our time. And there's no use in our trying to walk quietly or make any secret of our movements.
You mean we're being watched now? In the dark?
No. The captain means we're being watched by somebody who can see through this yellow haze, just as easy as we could see in broad daylight.
No doubt about that, son. This island, if it is an island, is years ahead of anything we have ever known. And it has people on it that know things we never dreamed of.
Could this all be artificial? The island, the fog, this light?
Yes, it could be, and it is, for the simple reason that it couldn't possibly be natural.
Golly whiskers. Well, what can we do?
We can only do one thing, Jerry. Keep walking toward the center of that yellow light.
Come on, men. I'm nervous and anxious to get it over with.
I can't even see as well as I could. Say, wait a minute. That's funny.
What's up, Jerry?
That yellow light. Look, behind us.
Huh? Well, but the light has moved. The center of it is behind us now.
Yes, and if you look to the right or left, you'll see the center of it there, too.
But the center of it couldn't be all around us.
It has no center. That yellow glow is perfectly diffused all over this area.
Then maybe we're not walking toward the light at all.
We're just walking through it. What if we walk off the edge of something here?
Now, here, you get in the middle, Pat. No, I'll stay in the middle. You two are much lighter than I am. If one of you slips off of something, the other two of us can pull you back onto this stuff we're walking on.
Wouldn't you think we'd hear something soon?
Yes, or see somebody.
This has got me breaking out with ice water freckles. Maybe we'd better stop and think it over again.
Getting scared, Jerry?
You bet I'm scared.
So am I, Jerry, but we may as well go on until... Oh.
What is it?
Which one of you gave me these?
Huh? Gave you what?
I gave you nothing. What are you... Huh? Well, why hand them to me?
What are you two talking about?
Pat just handed them to me.
I did not. I still have the ones you gave me.
Hey, now I've got them. Where did they come from?
Pat, Jerry, steady now, both of you. Just answer my questions one at a time.
Okay.
Yes, Tex.
Jerry, have you got a pair of glasses in your hands?
Yeah, sure. Mrs. Gregory just handed them to
Now,
me.
Jerry, you handed them to me.
Quiet. One at a time, I said. Have you also got a pair of glasses in your hands now, Pat?
Yes, I have. But I...
Yes, and I've got a pair.
But where did...
Tex, what is this?
Quiet, I said. We mean our lives. Quiet while I talk. Someone or something we couldn't hear, see, or feel, has just handed each of us a pair of glasses. There must be a reason for that.
Well, I don't want to find out what it is.
Oh, Tex, what have we gotten into?
You know about as much about it as I do. There's only one thing to do. Each keep your grip on the other one's arm, and put your glasses on with one hand.
But what do you suppose the glasses are for?
What any glasses are for, to see through.
But it's nearly dark, worse than dark. What good will glasses do?
Someone handed us those glasses. Someone who made no sound. And they weren't fumbling around in the dark because they didn't touch us at all. Therefore, whoever it was must have been able to see, and see perfectly. I think the time has come when we'll be allowed to see our surroundings.
I'm putting mine on.
Me too. But I'm shaking so I can't find my face. There now.
Now, just stand still and... Well, it's getting lighter.
No, it isn't. It's the glasses.
I'm beginning to see.
Take it as calmly as you can. No matter what you see, it won't help any to crack up about it.
Tex, look. Right beside me.
They're almost on top of us.
Look, there. Over there. Oh.
It's a long way from the coast of California to the South Seas, but many ocean liners travel that route with no more excitement than a trolley car ride. And almost directly in the path of these steamers lies a strange, hidden island, the magic island of the South Seas. The Gregory yacht has sailed to this island in search of Mrs. Gregory's long-lost little daughter. Now the yacht is held fast to the island by a powerful magnetic force. Jerry, Captain Bradford, and Mrs. Gregory leave the yacht. They stumble blindly through the weird yellow half-light that covers everything. Suddenly, some unseen person or phantom thing thrusts a pair of glasses into the hands of each.
Oh, Tex. Jerry, look.
They're all around us.
We haven't heard the slightest sound.
I felt better when I couldn't see them.
Speak to them, Tex. Say something to them. They aren't making any move to harm us.
I'll go near them. You and Jerry say, well, I can't move.
I'm scared, too. But I can move anyway. I'll show you. Gee, I can't even move my arms.
It's almost as if we were rooted to this spot.
Gosh, why don't they move or say something?
Speak to them, Tex. Get them to move. This will drive us mad.
Steady, Patricia. These men are not savages. They're strangely dressed, but they look civilized and intelligent.
But why can't we move?
I know why, but I don't know how it's being done. I have a gun in my pocket. I can feel it being drawn downward.
Sure, that's it. Magnetism again. That's why my flashlight feels like it weighs a ton in my pocket.
Oh, my head. Something pulling at my hair. Of course, the metal hairpins. But what's holding our hands and feet so still?
I think we'll find out a lot in a minute. One of those men is coming towards us now.
Yeah, his legs are moving all right. He's walking pretty fast. Say, why doesn't he get any closer to us?
This yellow light is deceptive. Probably an illusion deliberately created to throw our sense of perspective out of balance. I'll bet they don't speak English. Let me do the talking if we get a chance to do anything. Hello there? How do you do?
I guess they don't speak anything.
We'll soon find out. Well, if I could move my arms, I could shake hands with this gentleman.
I think that will not be necessary. In fact, it would not be advisable.
Golly whiskers, he can talk.
It's a relief to hear English spoken in this strange place.
This strange place, Madame is mistaken. This is a perfectly natural place. You three are the strange elements here.
Well, I guess you're right at that. We seem to have intruded upon something that's a little bit beyond our depth. What's it all about, Professor?
Oh, do not apply to me the title you confer upon your petty educators in what you so grandly choose to call your world. World indeed. Why, you poor innocents cannot even dream of the world as it is given to us to know it. Now, I will introduce myself. I am called G47.
Gee whiz.
No, G47.
Is this real, Tex?
It is, but no one back home will believe us.
May I ask a question of you,
At
G47?
least, Madame Gregory, you
He knows me.
silence, Madame, or I shall think you as rude as your strange companions.
I'm sorry, but I was so surprised that you should know me.
I think we're going to be more surprised if we can find something this guy don't know.
You are a very observant person for one so young.
Well, before we go on with this display of our ignorance and your confounded superiority, you might at least call off your magnetic force. It'd be more comfortable if we could walk around a little.
I am disappointed in you, Captain Bradford.
Oh, you win, G47. Suppose we could have moved long ago if we'd had sense enough to try it.
You were released the moment I spoke to you. Now, if you are through gaping and wondering, I will be glad to answer Madame Gregory's question. The object of your search is here.
Then the old sailor's story was true. There is a little white girl living here.
Gee, and can we see her right away?
Yes, let's get it over with, or do we just stand here all night?
Your rudeness will be overlooked this time, Captain Bradford. You will follow me. Come.
Well, I guess nobody who saw this would ever make fun of my magic island again.
You will see no magic here. This is a land of fact. Cold, hard, scientific fact.
What you say is obviously true, but we've been accustomed to getting our facts in a little less spectacular manner. Everything here is real enough, but it's all so strange to us.
Notice how all these other men merely stand aside and let us pass. They don't look curious, happy, angry. They just don't look anything.
Guess they don't think we rate getting excited about.
On the contrary, you are rather interesting subjects. It will be a pleasure to study you at greater length when time permits.
Well, it isn't the most comfortable feeling in the world to be spoken of as a subject for study, as if we were bugs on a microscopic slide.
But remember, Pat, as long as we're being studied, we'll be alive, and while
you're alive, there is always the possibility of your escape, eh?
That can wait. Please, G47, may we see the little girl?
We are nearly to the ladies' quarters now.
I imagine the ladies of your colony are kept rather well protected in the event your island might be surprised and perhaps captured, eh, G47?
Do not be unnecessarily stupid. We fear nothing.
I've got an idea he means that.
May we inquire where the ladies of your colony may be found? I see none of them.
This is the 602nd period, when the ladies are engaged in caring for their living quarters, making their dresses for tomorrow.
You mean 600 seconds as we figure time in our world?
Precisely.
But, golly whiskers, 600 seconds. That's only 10 minutes. You mean the ladies make their own dresses in 10 minutes?
And attend to caring for their living quarters in the same time? 5 minutes to make a dress,
It
Pat.
is a waste of valuable time, I admit, but we haven't been able to solve the problem of making a satisfactory garment in less than 300 seconds.
Good heavens, 5 minutes to make a dress, and the man calls it a waste of time.
I said 300 seconds, not 5 minutes. We have no time to deal in minutes here. Time is too precious. We measure it in seconds.
I'll bet these guys could put up the Empire State Building in their lunch hour. Boy, oh boy.
And the ladies make a new dress for every day?
Precisely. You will see all that being done and more before you leave the Isle of Euclidia.
Oh, so that's it, Euclidia. You named your scientific island for Euclid, the father of geometry.
You are learning, Captain Bradford. I am called G47, is the highest authority in Euclidia on the subject of mathematics. G for geometry, 47 for the squaring of the circle, the 47th problem of Euclid.
G47. And do all the other men on the island have names like yours?
No, they are all different from mine.
I mean, are they, do they mean something like yours does?
Everything on this island means something. The names are similar to mine. But enough with this childish prattle. Directly before you, you will notice a small, gleaming copper door. You are expected. Enter. I will return for you when the time limit of your visit is reached.
Well, if we ever wake up at all, this is going to be a dream hard to forget.
This is no dream. It's the real thing. A magic island.
Oh, I'm so nervous. Do you think we'll really see my little girl after all this? Will she prove to be my little girl? My little daughter, Joan?
Well, let's knock on this door and find out. Gee, the door opened. Without a sound before I touched it.
Are we supposed to walk right in?
You may enter.
Did you hear that?
A young girl's voice. Let's go in. What a small room. Oh, are you... How do you do?
Will you not sit down? Allow me, Mrs. Gregory. You there, Captain Bradford? And you here, Gerald.
Gerald?
Oh, Tex,
Steady, Patricia. Now take it as calm as you can. Jerry and I will just sit quietly in the background. As far back as we can go back in this little cubbyhole. You go ahead and talk to her. Find out if... Good luck, dear.
Do you mind if I question you?
Not at all. We of Euclidia encourage conversation when the subject is of value and takes little time. Remember, we are allowed but 120 seconds for this visit.
Gee, Tex, whoever heard of a 15-year-old girl talking like that?
Hush, Jerry. Let's don't use up any of Mrs. Gregory's 120 seconds.
Your name... What are you called, my dear?
I'm called Cleostra. Each one on Euclidia has a namesake in science. Cleostratus was an astronomer of ancient Greece who arranged the signs of the zodiac. I came to this island on the day the Euclideans changed the calendar from your clumsy one of 12 months of different length to our perfect one of 13 months. Hence, I was called Cleostra in honor of that day.
Golly whiskers. That girl was one of my school teachers.
Hush, Jerry.
Tell me, my... Cleostra, do you know how you came to this island, to Euclidia?
Why, of course. I was cast upon the island after a shipwreck near here. I was tied to a sinking lifeboat.
Yes, that would be right. The lifeboat was sinking. All the men left it and tried to swim to safety so that you and I would have a better chance to live. I remember tying you to the boat and then I could remember nothing else.
You remember? You tied me to that boat?
Yes, that's the last thing I remember. That was 14 years ago. You should be 15 now.
The keeper of the record tells me I am just 15. But you spoke of fastening me to the lifeboat. You, who are you?
I am your mother. I am Mrs. Patricia Gregory.
I know all that, but you are someone else also. There is something, I cannot explain it. My feeling is strange to me. But the Euclideans have kept so much news of the world from me. I suppose we are very happy here, yet I have often wished to know something of the world. Your world. Now you've brought that to me.
Will you turn your head? May I touch you, my child?
Certainly. Oh, you feel so strange. So warm and friendly. Your hand. No one's hands ever felt like that to me before.
I knew your hair would be golden and curly, and I'm afraid to look. It would be a tiny star-shaped scar at the base of your neck. Oh, it's here, take Jerry, the scar. It's Joan, my baby. My little daughter, Joan. My little girl. Joan.
At last we are really on the magic island of the South Sea. However, it seems to be not a place of beauty and peace as the islands are thought of, but a sinister and foreboding fortress, the stronghold of a terrible scientific colony. Jerry Hall, Mrs. Patricia Gregory, and Captain Tex Bradford have been allowed to see the little girl whom they came to find. The girl is Joan Gregory, long-lost daughter of Patricia Gregory. Mother and daughter have been given a moment of privacy in the tiny room the girl occupies on the Isle of Euclidia, the magic island.
I'm so happy to have found you, my dear, that nothing else matters to me. I can even bear being a prisoner here if I may only be with you, my dear little Joan.
And I'm so happy to be with you, Mrs. Mother. But it all seems so strange. I'm called Cleostra here. All of our names have to do with scientific things. And yet you call me Joan. And somehow it seems that I have always been Joan.
You have to me, dear. You've always been my little daughter, though the width of the sea and 14 years have separated us.
Mother. Oh, it sounds so nice to say that. Mother.
And you'll always be able to say it now. For Mother will never leave you. We'll go back to California, to the United States, to the great free outside which you call the world.
Tell me of your home. We hear much of it through our space phones, and can even see your United States through our universal prism reflectors. But the images are not clear, and your old-fashioned and weak electrical apparatus gives us a particularly mediocre signal.
What a precious infant you are. You know so much more than your mother. Your speech would shame many of our educators. And yet, I wonder if you've been happy here.
Happy? I believe so. We have games, relaxation, you know.
What sort of games?
When the full rest period comes, in the middle of the day, we gather in the common laboratory, and we may use the entire time, 600 seconds, in working out such mathematical and electrochemical problems as may suit our fancy, even though they haven't the slightest practical value.
And that is relaxation. Your wisdom makes me very sad, my child. You're only a young girl, barely 15 years old, and you should still be playing as a happy child. Don't you ever run and jump and play athletic games? Don't you ever laugh?
No one on Euclidia laughs, except G47, and when he laughs, it is only horrible. He is the most brilliant man in the universe, and the most terrible.
Is he abusive, mean, unkind to you?
G47 would not trouble to be anything but scornful toward any mere human. What am I, or what are you, or anyone else to a man who has only to raise his hand and destroy a world?
Oh, that's it. Then this weird colony is made up of mad scientists, bent on world conquest by science. I might have known it.
It is not a pleasant place for some here, I think. Some who have known your world as you know it. But to me, it is all I know.
You will soon know the world as I know it, my dear. I'll take you back to my home. Your home. Why, my estate is larger than this whole island.
And things grow naturally there? Flowers and trees?
Why, of course. Don't you have them here?
You will see in the light of day. We have everything and nothing.
You will come back with us to our world just as quickly as Captain Bradford makes arrangements for us to leave this island.
There are many here who have been trying for years to leave the island. They are still here. And some who have left, they never arrived at any known place.
But there was one person who got safely away, an old sailor, not long ago. He was picked up by a ship in the open sea and sent word of this strange island to the world by radio.
And where is that old sailor now?
He died almost as soon as he got his radio message to the world.
Yes, he died. So you see, no one ever gets away from this island for long.
Joan, you realize what you're saying? Surely you don't mean that his death was not accidental?
I think that I can tell you, all of you, much that will be to your advantage. But we will be overheard now. And it's better that I wait until another time, when Captain Bradford may hear it at the same time. One thing I can tell you now. G47 thinks that Captain Bradford is the only man in the world who might interfere with his plans.
Then we'll tell the captain. Tex is a brave and clever man, and Jerry Hall is a smart, dependable boy. We'll find a way to get off this island and back to the world. And then...
What?
I didn't see.
You do not see me now, do you?
These rooms are made of some metal, which allows you to see through it from the outside only.
What a nightmare of life you must lead here.
You will not need to speculate long on the type of existence peculiar to Euclidia. Your quarters will be assigned to you.
Where are Captain Bradford and Jerry?
You are dangerously impertinent in your inquisitiveness, but it is obviously ignorance. Your fine captain is in solitary confinement, learning a lesson about behavior on the scientific fountainhead of the universe.
What has the captain done to warrant that?
He asks too many questions, and I might add, you, madame, are following the same line.
Be quiet, please, dear mother.
How touching the reunion. Well, little lady, you will bear in mind that your mother's world means nothing to you. You are part of this vast machine. You are Cleostra, the living symbol of the perfect calendar.
My mother tells me my name is Joan.
By this time tomorrow night, your mother will have learned that what she tells you is of no moment here.
Where is Jerry? Is he locked up with the captain?
No, that adolescent walking loudspeaker is waiting without. I will allow him to perform a service for me. You, Cleostra, will go with him to the voice transmission chambers. I will direct him to send the message for me. You, madame, may go and talk to your precious captain.
But may I...
Silence, go. The woman waiting without will conduct you. You may speak to the captain through the wall of his cell, as I now speak to you. Go, I said, go, go.
Goodbye, Joan. I'll see you soon.
Goodbye, Mother. Goodbye.
Now, there is no time for sentiment here. Come out. Come.
What do you wish of me? Oh, Jerry, I'm glad to see you.
Silence. Cleostra, you will conduct this boy to the voice transmission chambers. Show him the operation of the Euclidia to California voice transmission beam, and see that he sends the following message. All is well. We'll send further news later. He will send it to Mrs. Gregory's home operator. Use the signature of the Gregory yacht.
Say, now look here. You can't buffalo me into sending anything of the kind.
Have you seen our solitary confinement cell?
Why, geez.
Jerry, do as he says. I'll explain it all to you later.
Be off. Send that message. Then report to me in my private quarters. Be off. Be off.
Come on, Jerry. There's no use arguing with him.
Oh, I guess you're right. But I'd sure like to punch him on the snozzle. Golly whiskers.
You're a strange boy, Jerry. What does that mean?
What does what mean?
Punch him on the schnozzle, golly whiskers.
You don't speak very good English here, do you?
That I do not know. But I like the way you speak.
Do you? On the level?
On the level?
Yeah, on the level.
Do you not speak in the same manner on the level as you would on an elevation?
Hey, look. One of us is wrong, and I got along all right in school, so it must be you. Now, look. You like me. Is that right?
That is substantially correct, Jerry.
Well, I got that much of it right anyhow. Now, I like you, too.
That is very pleasant, Jerry. We must see each other as often as we are allowed to.
Oh, boy. That's slick.
Slick?
Never mind that now. Just listen. I know all about you for a long time. I got Mrs. Gregory and Tex Bradford to bring me with them just so as I could help find you.
But I have not been lost. Why should you have to find me? I have known where I was at all times.
Well, it's about time I got you off this island. Now listen. No, don't talk. Just listen. I've dreamed about you for years. It's been in all the papers about your mother looking all over the world for you. And I just got to thinking so much about you that golly, you're mighty nice.
You are also mighty nice.
Golly whiskers, you got that one right. Now look, you and I have got to do some figuring about getting off this island. Captain Bradford is locked up because he has too many questions about how things are done here on this island. And we've got to do something about it.
And there's very little we can do, Jerry. G47 hears and sees all that goes on in Euclidia.
Never mind that. Your mother's been looking for you for 14 years. And Captain Bradford's been helping her for 5 or 6 years. Well, and now that you're found...
But, Jerry...
You were lost. And now that you're found, we're not going to spend the rest of our lives on this island.
Is your world such a wonderful place, then, that it is worth all this worry and trouble and danger merely to attempt to return to it?
Is it worth it? Oh, boy. Wait till I take you to a moving picture premiere on Hollywood Boulevard. You ought to see some of those big shows.
We often watch what you call your moving pictures from here. When we are allowed the time.
Oh, sure. You got machines here.
No, Jerry. We see them being made. I will show you the universal prism reflectors. They may be focused on your Hollywood, and the making of the pictures is quite plain to us here in Euclidean.
Boy, this is a magic eye.
My mother's yacht was watched all the time. Every move you made on the trip from your California to our island was seen by our scientists. They did not let me watch, but I heard them talking.
Maybe getting off this island won't be so easy after all.
It will be impossible, Jerry. Oh, but here is the voice transmission chamber. We enter. So? And there's the apparatus you will use.
Where? This is the craziest place. We walk all over the island without making a sound. Then we open the door and we're inside of a room without a sound. And now that we're in here, there isn't a sign of anything to send a message with.
You see that map on the wall? You will push the little lever, the one marked California.
Okay. It's pushed. Now what is that to?
You may now talk to California. Just direct your voice naturally toward that wall.
Well, someday I'm going to write a book about this place. Well, here goes. J24Y to J12C, Los Angeles. Jerry Hall on J24Y to Johnson at J12C. Hello, J12.
J12C to J24Y. Go ahead, J24. I've been waiting for 2 hours for your signal.
Listen, J12. Enough has happened in the last 2 hours to fill a book. We're in terrible danger. On the island, our position is...
So, you silly fool. You would try to deceive me?
Oh, G47. That terrible ray gun. You used it on Jerry.
It is a pretty toy, is it not, Cleoster? Would you like to know how it feels?
When Jerry Hall, Mrs. Gregory, and Captain Bradford started out to search for a little girl on a strange island in the South Seas, Jerry insisted it would be a magic island. Now that Joan, Mrs. Gregory's long-lost little daughter, has been found on the island, and G47, the mad scientist, and his weird colony are holding Mrs. Gregory, Bradford, and Jerry prisoners, the strange island of Euclidia is indeed almost a magic island. Jerry, Joan, and G47 are in the voice transmission chamber on the island. Jerry tried to get a message through for help, but G47 overheard it. He turned a ray gun on Jerry and Joan. Mrs. Gregory's California radio operator is still trying to hear Jerry.
What has happened, Paul? Cannot get your signal. What has happened, J24? J12C.
Enough of that. So, you young fools, you would try to warn the outside world of my plans, would you? It might have been better had I used the death ray on you. No, I need you both. You have been unconscious for 50 seconds. 10 seconds more and you will revive. Then you will send a message I want you to send. Now, you should regain consciousness in just 3 seconds.
That's funny. I was talking to J12 in Los Angeles, then the set went dead. I'll get him again.
You will do exactly as I say, young man.
Golly, I didn't see you. Say, what did you do to Joan? Joan, what's the matter?
She did not receive the ray from this little toy of mine until after you did. It is just time for her to awaken. Now.
You turned the ray gun on Jerry, but he is not there?
No. I used only the 60-second paralyzing ray.
What are you talking about? Nothing happened to me.
Didn't you see that I was asleep, Jerry?
You were mighty quiet and funny, all right.
G47 turned his ray gun on us when he heard you trying to warn your friends in California that you were held prisoner here in Euclidia.
I didn't see any gun. I heard something that sounded like a baby screaming, a little child screaming way off. Then the radio set went dead.
The radio set, as you call it, did not go dead. I merely put you to sleep with a 60-second ray. You are trying to deceive me.
You bet I was. And I'll try it every chance I get.
Do not speak like that, Jerry. G47 can do with you exactly as he pleases.
Let him get busy on his worst end. I'm going to get off this island some way, sometime, and nobody's going to stop me.
You are a fool. Even a brave man knows when to keep quiet. You are as completely in my power and cut off from the world as if you had never known it to exist. This little ray gun is only one infinitesimal part of my equipment for handling pool.
Is that the little thing that put out to sleep?
This is it.
That doesn't look like a gun. It isn't any bigger than a lead pencil.
Just the same, Jerry. That little thing will throw a ray across this island and carries enough power in it to paralyze 1,000 people.
You have learned your lesson well, Cleostra.
Oh, nix on that Cleostra stuff. Her name is Joan. She's Mrs. Gregory's little girl, and I'll call her Joan.
You will learn to call her Cleostra. Her Euclidean name is the only name she will ever need. And it is our wish to know her as the symbol of Cleostratus, the great astronomer of ancient Greece, who gave us the zodiac.
Well, I'm going to call her what I like. Yeah, and that's not all.
That is entirely too much. Silence, both of you. You will now send a message I instructed you to send before. And this time I will stand directly behind you with this little ray gun trained upon you.
Go on, Jerry. Do as he tells you. Move the transmission lever there upon the map of California.
This is the craziest radio set I ever saw. I push a button and talk to Los Angeles, but I'm talking to a blank wall.
You are talking through a wall, a porous sound wall, behind which the directional voice transmission apparatus is located. The wall is bulletproof, my young fool, so do not waste your time trying to damage the apparatus. Go on.
Be careful, Jerry. Do not try to send any message except exactly as G47 tells you.
Oh, I got enough sense not to want him to put me to sleep again with that thing. Well, here goes. J24Y to J12C at Los Angeles. Hello, J12. Jerry Hall to J12C.
J12 to J24. Hello, Jerry. What happened to your signal? You were coming in good, then stopped. I got the word danger. Go ahead, J24Y.
Say there is no danger.
Correction on that J12C. I said no danger. All is well, but we are off our course. No sign of island. Stand by for further report. Repeat, J12C.
J12C to J24Y. Repeating. No danger. Off your course. No sign of island. I'm standing by.
Okay, J12.
Can you give me your position?
No position.
No position, J12. We'll give position later. That is all. J24Y.
That is all. Good luck, Jerry. Johnson on J12C.
Now, how do you shut this thing off?
It is off now. The method is no concern of yours.
Gee whiz.
Things work almost by themselves on Euclidia, Jerry.
Yeah, too fast to suit me. Now I've got to see Captain Bradford.
You may do so. You, Cleostra, will conduct this boy to the captain's cell. Then you will return to your quarters.
I would like to visit more with my dear mother.
You may see her later. You, Hall, will be allowed to see everything, or nearly everything, on Euclidia. When you have made up your almost negligible mind to the fact that you will stay here. Your interests are here now. In the meantime, go and see your dear captain. Make all the silly plans you can think of to escape. They will exercise your minds and furnish amusement to me. Go. Enough of this. I will see you when I want you. I will see you again.
I don't like that guy.
No one does. But it is not safe to show it. Now come, Jerry, and I will take you to the captain. Then I must go to my own quarters.
I'll see you after a while and tell you some more about California and the rest of the world, huh?
Tell me this, Jerry, as we walk to the captain's cell. Your name, Jerry Hall. What does it mean?
What does it mean?
Yes. It must have a meaning.
Well, It means that my mother's and father's name was Hall, and they called me Jerry.
But that means nothing.
Means plenty to me.
But on Euclidia, all the names mean something.
One of these days, you're going to quit worrying about what things mean on this spooky island. And it is a spooky place. Look, here we are walking on something that looks like concrete or stone, but our shoes don't make a sound.
That is not strange to me. I have seen how they make the noiseless rock, the transparent steel, and the invisible cloth.
Golly whiskers. When we get off this island, we'll show the rest of the world a lot of swell tricks.
I wish, Jerry, I wish you would not speak of getting off this island. You're only wasting your breath.
You don't think we're going to get off, huh?
I know you will not. And you will only make it dangerous for all of us if you try.
Wait till Tex Bradford and I get down to figuring this out. And we'll make it dangerous for anybody that tries to keep us from going.
There's Captain Bradford's cell. I must leave you here.
Where? I don't see any cells.
You do not look closely, Jerry.
There's nothing but a blank wall in front of us.
And if you look carefully at that wall, you will observe that you can see through it. And Captain Bradford is sitting in a little cubicle of a room.
Doggone it. I'm getting tired of all these tricks. Why don't they have windows and doors like anybody else?
Doors and windows are not necessary when you can see and talk through steel walls.
I guess you're right. Hey, Tex. Captain Bradford.
Yes, Jerry. Come over the wall so I can talk to you.
You may step nearer, Jerry, but do not touch the wall.
The walls are charged with electricity, huh?
Yes, and the power is enormous.
That's why these walls make such good cells.
Stop. You are near enough now.
Hello, Joan. How are you and Jerry getting along?
This Jerry of yours, I like him. He is a very nice, but very foolish boy.
Oh, she's worried, Tex. Just because I don't let old G47 bluff me.
I'm afraid it's no bluff, son. Better lay low and do what he says.
I must go now.
When can I see you again?
I will come to you when I have permission.
Oh, darn the permission.
Steady, Jerry. Joan's right. No use trying to go against the rules here till we have a plan.
I'm sorry. I'll see you later, Joan.
Goodbye, Jerry. Be careful what you do.
Goodbye, Cleostra.
You don't like that name much, do you?
Oh, it's all right. I don't like it because old Geometry gave it to her, I guess.
Well, now that we have a minute to ourselves, let's see what we've learned about our situation here.
The more we learn about it, the worse it gets.
Where's Mrs. Gregory?
She's in the room where they make dresses in 300 seconds, wherever that is.
Well, as long as they don't injure any of us, we have a chance.
Not much. I tried to cheat on a radio message to Johnson, and old G47 turned a ray gun on me.
Did he hurt you?
No, just put me to sleep for exactly 1 minute. Then when I woke up, he had me believing I'd better not try it again.
Did you get through to Johnson at all?
Yeah. With the old guy shoving his gun in me, in my back, I had to tell Johnson all was well, that we were off our course but in no danger, and that we didn't know our position.
Good boy, that helps a lot.
How could it?
I didn't have time to show you all the things we have on that yacht. You didn't see any of our equipment at the Gregory home. But Johnson knows it's impossible for us not to know our position as long as we have current enough on board to send him a message. And in an hour, he'll have our position all figured out.
How can he do that?
Just as we did on the yacht once. No, I'd better wait for another time to review that. The chances are, in fact, I'm sure, that every word we've said has been overheard by someone.
Then we've already said too much.
Yes, I know it, but we've got to talk sometime. And what we've said so far is no more than G47 has figured out for himself by now.
Is there anything that guy doesn't know?
There is one thing he can't touch, Jerry.
What's that?
He can't read your mind. The man is no magician, and he's no trickster, though he is probably the greatest scientist the world has ever known, or failed to know. Everything he produces is an exact science, and if we can only figure out how to get our thoughts to each other, without speaking or writing them, we can...
What's the matter? Tex!
I feel dizzy in my head.
Oh, Tex! Tex! What's happening to you?
The Magic Island has become a place of dread terror and weird scientific happenings. Mrs. Gregory, Captain Bradford, and Jerry Hall are constantly watched by the mastermind of the strange colony on the Isle of Euclidia. Joan, the long-lost little daughter of Mrs. Gregory, has been found on the island and wants to escape with her mother and her new friends. But this seems impossible. Captain Bradford is confined in a cell. And as Jerry talks to him through the solid, yet translucent wall, the captain chokes, seizes his throat, and falls.
Captain Bradford! Tex! Tex! What happened to you? Oh, gee, I gotta do... Joan told me not to touch this wall. It's charged with electricity. But I've got to do something for Tex. That crazy old scientist G47 has done this. I'll find him. Help! Help! Somebody! G47! Joan! Mrs. Gregory! Gregory! Help! Mrs. Gregory! Help!
Here I am, Jerry. What's the matter?
Come here quickly, Mrs. Gregory. Hurry!
What's happened, Jerry? You look badly shaken up.
Captain Bradford. Tex, in the cell. Something choked him.
Oh.
He choked and fell down.
Where is he now?
Right here, in this cell.
We've got to do something for him.
Don't touch that wall. It's charged. I didn't go in there, but here comes C-47 now. He'll know what to do.
Did he do this to Tex?
I think so. Tex and I were talking about...
What is all the screaming about, you young fool? What is going on here?
You know what's going on.
What have you done to Captain Bradford?
I have done nothing to him. I have ways of knowing what is going on in the cells. I heard this young fool and the captain plotting against me.
But what did you do to the captain?
I did nothing to him.
You did too. He was talking to me, then he started to choke. He grabbed his throat and fell over.
So? There is something wrong here. Come with me. We'll have a look in this cell. I ordered nothing done. It is possible that one of my assistants ordered the gas turned into the cell accidentally.
Hurry then, he may be dead by now.
That would depend on what kind of gas was given.
He started to turn black in the face.
That is bad. We must hurry. You may come in also.
Look out! Don't touch that wall.
Have no fear. When you ran screaming from the cell, I had the current turned off. We will enter.
Oh, Tex. Tex, what happened to you, Tex?
Keep your face away from his, madame. If it is the lethal gas, one breath of it from his respiratory organs in their natural constriction and you would be... Oh, no. He breathes. Strange. What could have happened?
Well, let's do something.
Yes, anything, only hurry.
Oh, something is amiss here. I have never had an accident like this. You, young man?
Yes?
Do you know artificial respiration?
Sure I do.
Administer it at once. I have cut all communication to this cell. I must return to my quarters to establish contact with the laboratory again. I will have aid here in less than 90 seconds.
Work fast, Jerry. I know how to do it. Let me help.
Quiet, both.
Why didn't Tex you?
Quiet, I said. We have just about a minute. He said all communication was cut off from this cell, so no one will overhear us. I'm all right. Just fake this so Jerry would run out yelling and give us this chance.
You sure scared me.
All right, hurry. You have a plan, Tex. What is it?
We'll never get this chance again, so listen closely. At all other times, they can see and hear all we do, no matter where we are on the island or on the yacht. But they must have something to protect themselves against the very thing they have developed.
I don't see.
I do. They figure someone else might be smart enough to invent rays and beams and all that, and they have something that will stop all those things.
Exactly, son. Now here's a plan. We'll find out what that material is. It's either cloth, wood, or metal which shields out all rays and cannot be dissolved by gases or light rays. And sound and visibility will not penetrate it. We'll get our hands on some of that stuff. Pick an excuse to spend our time on the yacht, smuggle that material aboard, and use it to shield our radio while we signal the world, or escape from here. Oh, you got all that?
Every word of it. And I'll get G-47 to take me on a tour of all the machines and laboratories and find out what it is.
I'll work too, Tex. Maybe Joan will know.
Quiet. I think I felt a vibration through these walls. Work on me, quick.
Gee, Mrs. Gregory, he's breathing all right, but he doesn't seem to wake up very fast.
Oh, Jerry, what can we do? Why doesn't help come?
There is no need to worry, madame. And you, Hall, you may cease trying to tear the captain's arms out by the root.
What's it all about?
We can't wake him. Do something for him.
If he dies, I'll get you for this G-47.
Your threats are foolish, and you know it. You cannot harm me.
Never mind that. What happened to Tex?
One of my assistants in the laboratory R3 was working with a new 800-second paralyzing ray. A beam of it must have escaped and cut through this cell.
Then Captain Bradford will be all right?
You mean he'll come out of it just like Joan and I did?
Yes, he will. If it was the 800-second ray, he should be over the effects of it in just 20 seconds. As I figure it from the time you screamed.
Did you time it exactly when I screamed?
Naturally. Our disturbance indicator records every slight shock, even of a voice. Records it to the fraction of a second. And all our personal chronometers are synchronized with that.
Golly, what a place this is. A wristwatch is a personal chronometer.
One thing is exactly the same here as in your world.
I'd like to know what it is.
A talkative, Young fool.
What are you two arguing about now?
Oh, Tex, what's happened to you?
Oh, we were scared. I saw you start to choke and fall.
Jerry ran for me. Then we got G47. He said it was an accident.
I don't like your accidents, Chief.
It was entirely an accident. Nothing will happen to you. Nothing of a serious nature. So long as you remain quiet and do not attempt to escape. Oh, but this is most irregular.
That's irregular enough for me, all right. I'm not in the habit of choking myself to sleep.
Ah, that is the irregularity I refer to. You, Jerry Hall, when the 60-second ray was turned on you, you did not choke, did you?
Why, no. Ouch!
Oh, sorry I kicked you, kid. Guess I'm a little clumsy from my nap.
Answer the question, Jerry. G47 is trying to find out something about what happened to Captain Bradford. And answer it carefully.
Very good, madame. I see you are learning the necessity for accuracy in our work.
Well, if there's liable to be any more accidents like this, I think we should all help to clear it up.
Very good. Well, Hall, answer my question. Did you feel a choking sensation from the ray?
I guess I did. I don't know. I did a little, but it happened so quickly. Well, I didn't have time to try and move like Captain Bradford did.
Oh, yes. I think that will be it. You were directly in the path of the ray when I used it on you. But this was a stray beam that escaped from the laboratory, and it must have struck Captain Bradford at a tangent. Then as he fell, he got the full force of the center of the beam.
Well, whatever it was, I've had about enough of it. Shall we go to the yacht now and make ourselves comfortable? You know we haven't any quarters ashore yet.
I was going to suggest that you make your home on the yacht for the time. Some of my assistants have been busy there. You will be observed just as if on the island. And I think you know now what that means.
It means that you can see and hear all we do when you want to, and it would be foolish to try to escape.
Exactly. I may build you permanent quarters on the island tomorrow. Oh, but it takes nearly 1,800 seconds to build a proper apartment for a lady. I cannot spare my assistants tonight.
Boy, half an hour to build a house and he's too busy.
All right, may we go now? I said, where is he?
He's gone, just like a breath.
You forget, you can step through any of these walls if the juice is turned off. The walls all move without a sound.
Good boy, Jerry. Keep a level head on your shoulders. We mustn't let this weird stuff get us to believing in ghosts.
That wouldn't be hard to do after seeing and hearing these things. But we must remember that these people are merely clever scientists. And all they have done, we can do.
Now you're talking, Mrs. Gregory. We can figure it all out if we don't get too excited. And I do believe one thing that old Frankenstein told us.
Well, he doesn't bluff. And in his position, he doesn't have to lie to us. So we'd better believe all he tells us.
Yeah, but I meant what he said about being safe as long as we don't try to escape. It was surely lucky you kicked me when we were talking about... Ouch! Oh, gee, I'm sorry.
Watch it, son. Now, Pat, you and Jerry come with me. We'll go back to the yacht for the night.
I wonder if they'd let Joan stay on the yacht with us. If not, I'll spend the night with her on the island.
I imagine it'll be all right, unless she knows too many things about the island. Things she might tell us.
I'll go see G47 and ask him.
May I go, please? You and Captain Bradford go down to the yacht, and I'll get Joan and bring her down there.
We'll hurry over to the yacht, Tex. I can fix my cabin up nicely for Joan. I want to get some pictures to show her.
Funny place, this island. Seemed about half a mile when we sailed around it, but it's only a few steps to walk across it.
They've certainly used every inch of space here. The whole thing is weird, even the names. Euclidia, G47, Cleostra. Oh, Tex, if we ever get back to the world, what a story we can tell. If we ever get back.
We'll get back. Jerry and Joan ought to be able to find what we were discussing.
There are the lights of the yacht. Yonder. I wonder where the skipper is.
Nothing would get him excited. He's probably having a good sleep in his bunk, waiting to wake up and find it all a dream. Well, here we are, just as we left it. What? Oh, the glasses again, eh?
Someone took my glasses off, too. I didn't even brush against my skin.
But why didn't we see someone before the glasses were taken off?
There are many things on this island that even these glasses will not aid you to see. The young fools will be with you in a moment. Sleep well, my friend. I will watch over you. I will watch over you.
Yes, and he will, too. It looks almost hopeless, Pat.
Now, Tex, remember your own advice. Don't lose your head.
Oh, I know it's all a lot of clever tricks, but they get on your nerves. Those glasses disappearing, for instance. G47 merely had to paint his hands and face, or wore a mask or gloves of some material which would not reflect visible rays through those glasses we had on.
We're going to be allowed to see just what they want us to see, and no more.
The old deck sure sounds good after walking without making a sound for so long.
Sounds like we were back in our own world again.
When Jerry and Joan get here... Say, Pat, I've got it. You remember what we decided?
You mean what we could use to...
Yes. Well, Joan has it. Has it with her right now.
I don't understand.
You will. In less than a minute, I'll be talking to you. And nobody on this island will hear what I say.
When Jerry Hall, Mrs. Gregory, and Captain Bradford sailed from Los Angeles in search of a mysterious hidden island, they found Mrs. Gregory's long-lost little girl, Joan. The rest of their discoveries are almost unbelievable. The Gregory yacht was pulled to the island by a powerful magnetic force and is now tied up there, with all on board prisoners of the mad scientist, G47. Mrs. Gregory and Joan are in one cabin on the yacht, while Captain Tex Bradford and Jerry talk excitedly in the radio cabin.
Yeah, I got it all right, but I still don't see where it's going to do us any good.
Joan didn't come to the door of the cabin, did she? I mean, so that anyone could see she had her mother's dress on.
No, she was so scared of what old G47 would do to her when he found out we had the dress, well, that she was ready to hide under the bunk.
Well, we'll see to it that G47 doesn't have a chance to do anything to her. Now, we'll have to work fast, because by now, someone on the island probably knows we have the dress and heard all we said about it. So hurry and get your head into it. No, not that way. Just pull the skirt over your head. That's better. Now, I'll get under it, too.
Good thing these dresses are plenty big and loose, but it's going to be mighty hot in there awful quick.
We'll be done with our little job mighty quick.
What good can we do with this dress? You said just now they'd know we had it.
We've got to hurry, so listen closely while I explain it.
This is the nuttiest thing I ever heard of. What would people think if they could see us with a girl's dress wrapped around our heads, using it for a hood?
Well, it may sound foolish, but the material of this dress of Joan's is the first ray of hope we've had. Now we can talk in safety and make a few plans for the first time since we hit this island. I knew there must be some way to talk in privacy here.
You mean the stuff this dress is made of will keep out the sound waves? Or whatever it is they use to hear everything that goes on around here?
Yes, Jerry, I'm sure of it. You know, a good scientist never compounds a poison without knowing the antidote. For his own protection, if nothing else. Likewise, a good scientist would never devise a weapon, gas, beam, or ray, one that would be almost universally penetrating or destructive, without first protecting himself, should his own invention ever be turned against him.
But those sound waves they hear through walls and clothing, well, they're not destructive. Well, they don't hurt anybody. Even if they do let old G47 hear all we say.
That's true, but it makes everyone on this island virtually a prisoner. No one has any privacy, even in your own room. Every sound and action is recorded somewhere in their laboratories. Nevertheless, we may safely reason that G47 and his leading assistants, the brains of this mad setup, must have privacy. They conduct their experiments and discuss plans without the remainder recalling hearing them. They must.
But how do you figure the cloth this dress is made of is the stuff they do it?
Every suit and dress on the island, every bit of cloth I've seen here is the same stuff.
But G47 put Joan to sleep with that harmless ray just as easy as he did me. And her dress is made of that stuff.
Yes, but if you had been awake to see her get the ray, you would probably have seen him point at her head or hands.
What is this cloth, anyway? I mean, where did they get it?
We'll find out in time, but let's hurry with this plan. Someone might decide to board the yacht just to make sure we're behaving ourselves.
Okay, Tex. What are we going to do?
All right, here's the setup. When we get out from under this dress, we'll take it and put it over the radio. Be sure it's under and around the whole thing.
I got it. Then one of us can put our head inside the dress and work the set. And G47 can't tell we're doing it.
I'm going to let you do this. You know what to say to Johnson if you get him. Give him our position and say to stand by for information on how to rescue us. Tell him not to attempt rescue without instructions.
Gee, then what can Johnson do if I do get word to him?
He can't do anything now, but we've got to figure how to get control of the power on this island. We could use their knowledge for the greatest scientific age in the world, but I feel sure that their intentions are not to aid the world, but to destroy it.
Oh, golly. Let's get going.
Now operate the set on the usual wavelength. and I'll set the directional beam reflector due north. We're outside of the listening post around the inner circle of the island, and this beam won't make the slightest disturbance anywhere except due north. The set is all warmed up now.
Already now?
All ready, son. And we'll just slip out from under this thing and cover the set with it. Then I'll go out on deck and stroll near this cabin door in case everyone gets curious. Go to it, and don't talk to me again. Don't say anything until you're covered up with that set. Inside this dress now, then send the message. Now, out we go.
Gee, it's a mighty tight squeeze in here. Guess I'm ready to go. J12C, J12C, J24Y to J12. Jerry Hall on J24Y, calling J12C. Hello, Johnson. Hello, J12. Oh, golly, something's wrong. I can't raise it. Well, guess I'll just have to try again. J12C.
J12C to J24Y. Hello, J24. Go ahead, Jerry. Go ahead.
Boy, here he is. Hello, J12C. This is Jerry Hall on J24Y. Captain Bradford wants you to get this. Copy it. Repeat. Then stand by. Here it is. Our position, latitude 29 degrees south, longitude 124.30 west. Danger here, but do not attempt rescue. Stand by for information on how to rescue us. Get that? Do not attempt rescue without information. Repeat, J12.
J12C to J24Y. Repeating. Your position, 29 degrees south, 124 degrees, 30 minutes west. You are in danger. Standing by for information how to rescue. Confirm, repeat.
Okay, J12. Repeat, okay. Jerry Hall standing by for Captain Bradford. That's all, J12. Now I can get out of this dress. Oh, boy. That feels better.
Hello, kid. How did you enjoy your rest?
Oh, I had a swell sleep, Tex. I dreamed I used this radio set again, but nobody was spying on me. I talked to Johnson in Los Angeles, and he knows we're here.
Great dream, son, but there's no chance of it ever coming true the way we're watched. G47 knows all we say and do. I wonder.
Maybe it's one of the crew.
No, they're all asleep.
Shall I open it?
Wait a minute. I'll hide the dress.
Oh, heck.
I might have known it.
You must pardon my rudeness in entering unbidden, but as long as anyone could have seen and heard all you were doing through the portholes you so kindly left open in every cabin, I surmised you were not discussing anything secret.
Just discussing our situation here and wondering how long it'll be before we can get away from this island. You knew we would be discussing that without my telling you.
Precisely. And even if I could not see that you have Cleostra's dress there, I would know that the material of the dress had been used for some purpose.
How would you know that?
Never mind that, Jerry. It's enough that he knows we were using it. And of course he knows why we were using it.
You displayed some small intelligence in your ideas about the material, Captain. And you have undoubtedly discovered that the fabric is impervious to beams and rays of our sound and light transmission spectrum.
I have. That didn't take much figuring.
Tomorrow, you may visit the laboratories where the fabric is made. You may have enough of it to drape the inside and outside of this boat, if you wish. I have no desire to intrude upon your privacy. I merely came to warn you that while your childish and unsuccessful attempts to reach the outside world merely amuse me, your first successful attempt will mean your end.
Well, we're going to try it just the same. You can't get away with this forever, and you know it.
Steady now, Jerry. No use losing your head about it. Well, G47, I want to tell you plainly that if there is any way I can get my friends out of your grasp, I'm going to attempt it.
You are a fool, Captain. A brave one, possibly, but nevertheless a fool. Your life would mean nothing to me.
I happen to know better, for I have something you want.
Yes, you clever meddler, you have. And you know that I will keep you alive until I wrest your secret from you. The only thing in the universe we Euclideans have failed to master. And as long as you live, I know that in some way, at some time, I will get your secret.
Well, you can't torture it out of me, and you're not a magician. How will you do all this?
The time will come when you will be glad to exchange your secret for the freedom of your friends and yourself.
Nothing doing on that. If Captain Bradford has something you want, we'll stay right on your island for the rest of our lives. All of us. But you'll never get it.
You see how it is, G47? You're just wasting your breath.
Yes, and Joan wants to stay with her mother and the rest of us. She belongs to our world, and she's going back to it with us.
Cleostra may stay with you, and she will save you a lot of worry by telling you as much about the island in an hour as you could learn by watching us work for a month. But she will have to be content with your descriptions of the world. She will never see it, except as a loyal subject of Euclidia, when we Euclideans rule the universe.
You don't mind going now? We've got things to do, and your boasting and bragging gets on my nerves.
It is a pleasure to leave such hopeless company.
Well, maybe we're not as hopeless as you think.
Quiet, Jerry.
You need not warn the boy, Captain. I heard his little radio message to Johnson.
Gee, the dress was no good, Tex.
So, the dress didn't work, eh?
The material of the dress worked perfectly, but your radio beam was intercepted as it passed through our magnetic fog.
Well then, if you heard my message to Johnson, why did you let me give him our position and warn him of our danger?
Don't you know that radio message will bring a fleet of battleships down on you if anything happens to us?
On the contrary, you have protected me nicely. Johnson will take orders and execute them accurately. You ordered him not to move in your rescue. Your position means nothing. You had previously given him that as the yacht was held to the magnetic fog. If you had not tried this wild scheme tonight, there was a chance your Los Angeles agents might have acted on their own incentive to rescue you. But you have blocked that yourself. You have prevented your own rescue, and I will prevent your escape.
When the Gregory yacht sailed for the South Pacific, the members of the expedition hoped they would find a strange island and a little lost girl, and return the little girl to her mother. All this has been done. But now, when the yacht should be sailing gaily home with a happy party on board, it is tied up, helpless, at one of the piers on the island of Euclidia, the magic island of the South Seas. Mrs. Gregory, her daughter Joan, Jerry Hall, and Captain Tex Bradford are in Mrs. Gregory's cabin on the yacht, discussing the failure of their attempt to outwit G47, the mad scientist.
My Tex, if this thing is just as you describe it, we're actually prisoners. Worse than prisoners. For now, we haven't even a chance of rescue from the outside world.
I'm afraid that's about the size of it, Pat.
Oh, Mother, it's almost too much, isn't it? Just a few hours after we have found each other, and we're making such happy plans to go back to your world. Then to have it all taken away from us again.
Oh, cheer up, Cleostra. Gee, how I hate that name.
My name is Joan now, Jerry, and no one need ever call me Cleostra again.
That old G47 keeps right on calling you Cleostra.
I think G47 will go right on doing a number of things we'll be powerless to prevent.
It looks bad now, Patricia, but there's always a way out of everything if you try hard enough.
I sure can't see any way out of this. Gee, and I thought that message to Johnson would get us rescued right away.
How did the plan fail, Tex? Have they done something to the radio that we can't communicate with Johnson?
No, the radio is all right. Jerry talked to Johnson, and Johnson repeated the message back. That part of it was all right. The G47 also heard the message. And he knows that I've instructed Johnson not to move in our rescue without orders from me. And unless we can find some other method of communication, those orders will never get to Johnson.
But why, Tex? Why did you send Johnson such orders? Isn't there some way he could rescue us?
That's what I couldn't figure out, Mrs. Gregory.
I'm almost sure that it would be impossible to rescue anyone from this island. It would only mean the lives of everybody who tried it.
You are right, Captain Bradford. They have weapons so terrible here
that a big battleship just melts away and sinks within a few minutes, and without a chance to fire a shot. Its guns and engines all powerless. June, my daughter, you've just heard these men talking about what they think they can do, of course. Nothing like that has actually happened. I have seen it with my own eyes. A fine battleship sinking in 10 minutes. Everyone on board lost. And the only weapon used by the Euclideans was one of their larger ray guns, looking very much like one of your telescopes. Oh, Mother, even now you do not realize the awful power of things on this island.
Golly whiskers. Gee, that sounds like the real thing, Tex.
It is the real thing, Jerry. That's why I'm so hopeless about it all.
Why, Tex, I've never seen you act like this before. You can't mean you're giving up, that there's no possible way to get off this island?
No, I haven't given up. But there's no hope in any of the ordinary ways of doing these things. We've got to hit on some way of getting information to Johnson. Then he will have a chance to rescue us.
What's that information, Captain?
I'd rather not tell you, Jerry. At least not just now. Might be too unpleasant for you if G-47 found out you knew the only ray of hope there is. It will take time. Days, weeks, maybe months. And until then, I want to keep that to myself.
Then let's hope that guy never finds out how to read what you're thinking about.
I suggest that we try to forget all this for a few minutes and act like human beings. Come and sit by me, Joan. I can hardly realize that after 14 long years, we're really together.
Gee whiz. Look at that, Captain.
At what, Jerry?
At Joan and Mrs. Gregory. They look just alike, don't they?
They sure do, son. And especially since Joan has a dress of her mother's own.
I said that Joan would be pretty. Almost as pretty as you are, Mrs. Gregory. And she is, too.
You're a sweet boy, Jerry. You've been good company for us on this trip. Aren't you glad we brought him, Tex?
Yeah, as far as he's concerned. But I'm sorry to get anybody into this. Your dad will be plenty worried about you, Jerry.
Oh, no, he won't. He knows I'm with you.
Well, right now, being with me is the poorest protection I can think of.
Now, Tex, dear, don't start that again. We're all in this together because of Joan and me. And we'll all get out of it together. Don't worry any more about it. Please, dear. Mother, when you talk to the captain like that, you look at him so soft and different. And your eyes are so large and beautiful. And now your cheek is turning red. Mother, why does Captain Bradford look so uncomfortable?
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
What's the matter with you, Jerry?
Oh, nothing.
Jerry, you mustn't do that.
I'm sorry.
Mother, is Jerry not feeling well? Why should he laugh when he says he is sorry?
Joan, you're a very scientific young lady, and your knowledge is way beyond your years. But, well, the reason Jerry was laughing is,
Yes, Tex. What is the reason?
Look, Joan, what would you think if I called you dear?
I should think it was very silly. My name is Joan.
Yes, but look.
Give it up, Jerry. Never mind, Joan. We're not making fun of you. Just one of those things you'll understand when we get back to the world. Back to the world.
Now, there you go again, Tex. If you can't just sit still and talk about something pleasant, then for heaven's sake do something, anything, to occupy your mind. I know a great deal about many of the things on Euclidia. Perhaps I could tell you something that would help you. That's true, Tex. After all, Joan knows more about this island than any of us. Probably more than we shall ever know, and we haven't asked her for any information of real value.
Well, I got an idea that the more we hear about this place, the more hopeless it's going to look.
That is true. The more you see on this island and learn about it, the more you realize that the Euclideans are the most terrible and dangerous people in the world.
Just the same, they must have overlooked something. And we'll find a method of communicating with our friends in the world outside.
Tex, I just remembered something.
Something that will help us out of this?
At least it may help us to understand it. The old sailor's diary. I was to tell you about that pitiful old gentleman who thought he had escaped from here.
What do you mean, thought he had escaped? He did escape.
Of course he did, Joan. And he was picked up in the open sea and taken to a hospital somewhere. We heard about him on a shortwave broadcast. That's how we got the position of this island. And found you, my dear.
What did you mean by that, Joan? He thought he'd escaped.
He was allowed to escape. And then when he was helpless, lost in the sea, he was picked up and brought back here to the island again.
Then those broadcasts we heard, came from right here on this crazy Euclidean.
I thought there was something unnatural about the accent of the man we heard broadcasting. Someone from here, of course.
G-47 himself, I think. But why go to all that trouble with the poor old sailor?
It was all a trap to get you here, Captain Bradford. I have heard your name many times, and Mother's too. Although they never let me know it was my mother they were talking about.
But what did they want to get the captain down here for? Oh, I know. That formula of yours, Tex.
But why torture the poor old sailor? The broadcast would have brought us anyway.
That was something I did not just understand. They did not talk too much in my presence, but it had something to do with the diary the old man kept. The scientists wanted it, and they never found it.
That's it. G-47 figured that if he allowed the old man to think he was escaping, the poor fellow would trot out the diary and try and take it with him.
What was in this diary that made it so valuable?
I am not sure, but the old sailor was allowed a great deal of freedom on the island, and I think he had found out the exact formulas and methods which made many of the Euclideans' greatest discoveries possible. And he probably had a complete map of everything contained on the island. G-47 must have known and feared this.
But the diary was never found.
Never. I think it is still on the island, and although no one can think of any possible place to hide it.
I should think those rays of theirs would look through everything and show the book up mighty quick.
Sure. They can even look through cement and steel with those things.
But not through the opaque cloth. The cloth of my dress which you used tonight.
Say, Joan, that dress of yours. When G-47 came into the radio cabin and saw us with the dress, it didn't even look surprised. Said he knew we had it.
Of course he did.
You must have gone too near the door, Joan, and he saw you with my dress on.
I think not, but how else would he know?
He would know because I did not turn my dress in with the others to be destroyed.
Turn it in to be destroyed?
Destroy a lovely piece of material like that?
Every day?
Every evening. You have heard how we make a new dress every day in 300 seconds. You will see all that when G-47 allows you to go through the laboratory.
Why 300 seconds? Say 5 minutes, Joan. You're in our world now, and we aren't so busy, but we can talk in minutes.
Yes, my dear. You will do everything as we do it now.
I like to do things your way, Mother dear.
I'm sure glad you're on our side, Joan. You're going to make a great little sidekick for me.
But I like you, Jerry. Why should I make a sidekick at you?
Oh, no. That's just my way of saying that you and I are going to get along all right.
Your conversation is confusing to me, Jerry, with your many exaggerated idiosyncrasies of expression.
Golly, Whiskers.
That is what I mean. Golly is what you call slang, is it not?
Oh, I guess it is.
Then what are the whiskers for? I have learned that you use a great deal of slang because you're too lazy to speak correctly. But the whiskers on the golly, there's no sense to that, Jerry.
Look, you win. I give up. Forget
it. Don't look so worried, Joan. Jerry is just having a little fun with you.
I thought I was, but I got a notion she's having some fun with me.
I'm afraid Joan hasn't had much experience in having fun, Jerry. Euclidia isn't a funny place.
No, Mother. Until you and Jerry and the captain came to this island, I had never heard anyone laugh as you do. These Euclideans only laugh when they're watching someone suffer or planning some terrible thing to do.
Now, dear, you're not going to worry any more about all this tonight, and you must get some sleep. Tex, you and Jerry say good night and go to your cabin. I want a few moments alone with Joan, and she's very tired, aren't you, dear?
Oh, no, Mother. I am not at all tired.
Oh, sure you are. Your eyes look like 2 fried holes in a blanket.
Fried holes? In a blanket? How can you fry?
Get. I'm sorry you started it. Good night, Joan. Good night, Mrs. Gregory.
Good night, Jerry.
Good night, Pat and Joan. Jerry will take turns with me on deck tonight, so don't worry. See you in the morning. Night.
Good night, Tex. Jerry.
Gee, Tex, they've got that funny yellow light all over the island again. You can hardly see.
That's what we're up against, kid. That weird yellow light all over this island is a pretty good example of how much we can see of what's ahead of us.
You're right, sir. We can't see a thing.
Into the mysterious South Pacific Ocean sailed the magnificent yacht of Mrs. Patricia Gregory. Captain Tex Bradford, her business manager, and young Jerry Hall went with her in search of Mrs. Gregory's little daughter, Joan. The Gregory yacht is now held to the strange Isle of Euclidia, and all on board are prisoners of G-47 and his colony of scientists. Joan has spent her first night on board the yacht, away from the weird scientists who have raised her in ignorance of the outside world. The Gregory party is just leaving the yacht for their first daylight view of the island.
Well, the island looks a lot different in the daylight.
Everything sparkles just as if it had been polished.
Does someone have to shine that stuff all the time, Joan?
No, Jerry. The whole surface of the island, except the stone we are walking on, is made of some metal that never tarnishes. These buildings have looked exactly the same as long as I can remember, and they are never touched.
It certainly is an island of wonders, even if they are terrible wonders.
They won't be so terrible when we get back to our world with them.
I'm afraid, Captain Bradford, that will never be done.
Have there been many prisoners like ourselves, dear?
A great many, and those who tried to escape are nowhere now.
Gee, didn't they all try to escape?
Oh, no. Most of the Euclideans started as prisoners, but they are as bad as the scientists now.
I can't imagine anyone wanting to become a party to the scientific horrors being created here.
What could the scientists offer these prisoners as a reward for staying and working with them?
I've heard some of them talking, and most of them were people who were not satisfied with their life in the world, or their position in it. And G-47 has promised each of them a state or a country to rule for their own, if they will help him finish his experiment.
This thing is terrific, Patricia. It means world conquest and a world of slaves if we can't prevent it.
You are right, Captain.
Well, let's quit guessing and let Joan explain some of the things she knows for sure about this island.
Yes, G-47 gave you permission to take us around the island and explain it, Joan. But don't tell us anything you shouldn't.
Right, no sense in your getting punished for showing us too much.
You need not worry about that. The places I can take you into, you could walk through without me, and the others...
Well, we'll touch only the things you tell us to. But before we go into any of the buildings, there's something I want to know. Something about this concrete or stone that we've been walking on.
I know about that. You want to know why your shoes make no sound when you walk on this surface.
You bet we want to know. Pretty near scared us to death when we were walking around in the dark here last night. We couldn't even hear our shoes hit this stone.
It felt as if we were walking on a heavy carpet, but this is smooth and hard as cement.
I know how that is done. They made this island out of stone, or something hard like stone. Then they painted it with the noiseless paint.
A true soundproof paint. Pat, when I get back to the States and take that formula to the studios, I'll be rich.
Hey, wait a minute.
What happened, Jerry?
Oh, nothing happened. But I just got something you said.
What did I say?
Well, you said when they made this island. You just mean when they fixed up the top of it, don't you?
Not at all. G-47 explained the construction of this island quite lucidly. A hidden coral reef was utilized as a base, and the island gradually built up from the sea floor. The coral was used to form this hard substance we are walking on. So it is quite obvious, Jerry. They made the island.
But that would have taken years and an army of men.
How many people are there on this island?
I think 250.
Golly whiskers. Where do they keep them?
There can't be more than a dozen of these little steel buildings on the island. And I know most of these are radio rooms and defense chambers. Where are the people?
Everyone lived on the lower levels, and most of them worked there.
Lower levels? How far down does this thing go?
There are 10 levels below us, 100 feet.
Gee whiz.
Gee whiz is very good at this time, Jerry.
100 feet deep. And about 1,000 feet across, hey, Joan?
The main circular part of the island is 600 feet in diameter. It is 800 feet between the control houses halfway out on the piers, and 1,000 feet to the end of the pier.
Then those piers are 200 feet long. How many of them are there?
12 piers and 8 submarines.
Huh? 8 what?
Submarines?
Why, this is a complete fortress.
Where are the submarines now?
They are kept between the piers, deep in the water. You enter them from the 50-foot level.
Submarines anchored 8 fathoms down, and you board them there. Oh, this is so big it's hard to believe. And think of the damage they could do to the world.
And what are these little bowl-shaped places on the island floor, or roof, or whatever this thing we're walking on is called?
It is called the roof when we are up here, and the ceiling when we are under it.
There you are, Pat.
I deserved it. What are these little bowls, Joan dear?
It is in those we have our palm garden during the safe days.
What do you mean, safe days?
When there is no ship near us, and the fog ring is let down, the sun comes in,
And then we grow a palm garden.
You grow a palm tree garden in these holes when you want it?
That is a comparatively elementary demonstration. The chief agriculturist puts a small quantity of chemical soil in these receptacles, exposes them briefly to the light of sub-ultraviolet rays, then plants palm seeds in them, and in approximately 280 seconds, the island is suitably shaded by palm trees of mature growth.
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
Have you actually seen that happen, Joan? Certainly, Mother. When the ocean is free of danger and the governing body wishes to train the colony in conduct in worldly agriculture.
But what if a ship were to come upon you suddenly, or an airplane fly over? It would take time to get rid of those trees.
Only a few seconds, Captain. Just some other chemical put upon them, and in a moment they are only minute piles of vegetable ash in the bowls. Then the fog cloud is thrown around the island while that is happening. The magnetic ring is turned on, and ships pass by without even suspecting the existence of Euclidia. It's almost too much to believe, my dear, but we know some of it is true, so the rest is more plausible.
Well, we had one boat that didn't pass the island without knowing it was here.
The Euclidians were watching you all the time, and G47 became afraid you might sail away in the night when you were released from the fog ring. So then he ordered the tractive magnets turned on to pull your yacht to the island.
How strong are those magnets?
I am not sure I can quote it accurately, but the design of the necessary strength in those magnets is based on Maxwell's fundamental equation for the pull. And that
Hey, not so fast. Even if you know all that, I don't want to hear it. All I want to know is how large a boat they will pull to the island, and how far at sea this pull may be felt.
I know that some boats have been pulled in which were longer than the piers and had to be destroyed at once as the fog ring would not conceal them.
Jiminy Christmas.
What happened to the people on those boats? Some of them have joined the scientists in their work, and the others... Oh, I have heard terrible things.
Oh, don't you worry, Joan. We'll get you out of this quick.
I don't know how quick, Jerry, but we'll get out all right.
Here is the room where we make our dresses each day for the next day.
Well, you didn't make one last night.
No, and you look very charming in one of my dresses here.
And even if the material of your dress didn't do us any good last night, the time will come when that material will save our lives, and possibly more than that.
I do not see how that can be. It is a pretty and beautiful cloth, but after all, just a cloth. True, dear, but with a cloth that will shield us from the light and sound waves of these scientists, we can secure a little privacy, and Jerry and Tex will try to plan our escape. We will go in the cloth mill now. And remember, do not ask too many questions if you have the opportunity to ask any.
Gee whiz! This is the noisiest place I was ever in. And we couldn't hear a sound from the outside.
The walls are treated with the soundproof paint. Those machines certainly make an awful clatter.
That doesn't seem right to me. With all the other things this bunch has figured out, why don't they silence those machines?
I'll bet they can't stop the noise.
I'll bet they can stop it.
You are right, Captain. These machines are kept noisy for a good reason. Just to give the people headaches? No. To keep the Euclideans hearing normal.
G47 hasn't overlooked a bet, has he?
I don't understand it. What value has all this noise? I should think it would be easier on the ears and nerves and everything else to have them run quietly.
I sure don't get it, Tex.
Jones said it was to keep their hearing normal. That means that nearly everything on this island is perfectly silent. And if the people here were never to hear a sound except their own voices, they would soon lose part of the art of hearing. They would not be able to distinguish one sound from another.
Many men have come here, Captain Bradford, but no one else has ever grasped the true reason for these things as you do. I can see why G47 wanted you here. I understand it now, and you are a clever man, Tex. These men here were really afraid to have you continue your experiments in our world. They wanted your brain here. That's why the yacht was allowed to reach the island.
Well, we came to find Joan, and we got her. So never mind how we got to the island. And if Tex is smart enough that these guys are afraid of him, then he's smart enough to get us out of this.
I hope you're right, Jerry, but I don't feel very smart right now. Show us how the machine works, will you, Joan?
You will notice that large hopper at the intake side of the room, where they are putting the Macrocystis terracera in. That is just ordinary seaweed taken from any kelp bed. Then that wonderful cloth is made from seaweed?
Gosh, these fellas are plenty smart, all right.
The seaweed is ground up there.
Then it goes through all these other machines where they do things to it which I do not understand. Then it comes out on those rollers ready to make dresses of. I do know, however, that before it comes out as you see it, it has gone down to one of the lower levels to a secret laboratory. I have never seen that.
And I'll bet that's where it gets soaked with the sound and light-proof liquid.
If we could only get our hands on some of that liquid.
Right, boy, we could cover the yacht with it and get out of here.
Why, the machinery. The noise has stopped.
Has something happened? I have never known it to stop at this time of day before.
I'll bet it's our fault. Do you think they could hear us talking through all that noise?
Probably if they wanted to, but why stop the machinery?
The alarm. That gong is only rung when someone is trying to escape from the island. 5 strokes. That means near Pier 5. Your yacht is anchored at Pier 5, Mother. Someone must be trying to escape from your yacht.
I'll bet the skipper's trying to take a rowboat out.
Boy, I hope he makes it.
The strange island of Euclidia becomes more mysterious and terrifying with every discovery Jerry and his friends make on this weird artificial stronghold. Captain Bradford has decided that the seaweed cloth, from which all clothes on the island are made, will keep out all sound and light beams and rays, and is trying to plan a method of using this cloth to aid in their escape. Joan, Mrs. Gregory, Jerry, and Tex were inspecting the cloth factory when the alarm sounded. Someone escaping from the island, escaping from the very pier where the Gregory yacht is held. Jerry has run off after some of the island men to watch them prepare for the capture of the escaping man.
I wish Jerry had stayed with us. These terrible men may be very angry to find Jerry following them.
You need not worry about that, Mother. Jerry may go with them if he wishes, but he may see someone receive a horrible punishment when they catch the escaping man.
You say when they catch him, not if. Isn't there any chance at all of getting away?
No, Captain Bradford. G-47 has been here for many years, and since he started this colony all alone, no one has ever escaped.
Where did the men go, the men Jerry was following?
I think they went down into one of the submarine locks.
Going to use a submarine in the chase, eh? Not much chance for anyone to get away, I guess.
Isn't it strange that everything should be so quiet? Someone is escaping from the island. We heard the alarm. Yet there's no confusion, no soul in sight.
There is never any confusion on Euclidia. Each man and woman on the island have their places and duties for every emergency. They go about their work just as quietly and naturally as you would eat a meal.
This is going to be a hard job, Pep, but we'll find some way to beat them at their own game. Hello, there's Hanson standing on the yacht, waving for us to come to the rail.
Well, it must have been someone off the yacht who escaped.
Looks like it. Come on.
Who is this Hanson, Mother?
Our engineer, a fine, steady sailor who's had the motors of my boat for 3 years.
He's all excited about something now. He's pointing at the bridge, then down into the water. It was the skipper then.
Oh.
But what kind of a crazy scheme did he try to put over? The boats are both there. I hope he wasn't wild enough to try to swim for it.
Look, Tex. Hanson has a note in his hand, and his finger to his lips.
He means for the captain to read the note and say nothing.
Yeah, that's what I expect. Well, we'll see. Well, what is it, Hanson? Oh, all right. Yes, I understand. Yes, you did just right. Everything you could have said would probably have been overheard. I'll call if I want you, Hanson. Thanks.
Isn't it strange how loud his footsteps sound on the deck of the yacht, and ours make no sound on the island floor?
Those sounds are very comforting to me, dear. And you will learn to live in our world where natural things make the natural sounds they ought to make. Good, healthy, natural sounds. All this perfection of silence here, it's too much for me.
But I can't tell you what is in this note until I get it under some of their ray-deflecting cloth and show it to you. I'm even afraid to hold it out in the light any longer for fear they have read it. But it's good news. Good old skipper.
Well, can we take it into the cabin now and discuss it? We have enough of the cloth to screen a room, or at least a section of the cabin.
But I want to go back and look for Jerry. The men should be coming back now, and I want to meet that foolish boy before he makes them angry. He will ask too many questions, and that they will not like.
Good idea, Joan. Take your mother with you. Go and find the kid and keep his mouth shut. He hasn't opened it too far already. I'm going aboard the yacht and do a little figuring on this note.
The alarm again. That means they have not found the one who escaped. They will be sending out another party to search the ocean.
That alarm is 7 strokes. What does that mean?
Another person has escaped near Pier 7, or the one who escaped before has been seen near Pier 7.
That was 10. Does that mean Pier 10, Joan?
Why, yes, but I cannot understand that. There could not be 3 different people escaping from 3 different places at the same time.
And why is that impossible?
Because when the first alarm sounded, everyone on the island except the searchers and our little party would have been locked in their quarters.
Tex, do you know what all this means?
Well, I've got a good idea. Unless I'm mistaken, all the other alarms will ring before they get done. Now, you two try to find Jerry and get him back to the yacht before he does or says anything to get them angry enough to throw him in a cell. I'm going aboard the yacht. You board it and come to the radio cabin as soon as you find Jerry.
I had never known anything like this to happen. What can it be, Mother?
I think the captain has an idea, dear, but you mustn't ask him now, for fear someone might overhear our answers. We'll go, Tex, and report to you just as soon as we find Jerry.
Well, good luck. Now, if I'm only figuring this thing right, good old skipper. There's no need to bother with this cloth over my head now. Everyone's too busy running down these alarms to listen for my radio beam. Boy, the old skipper is sure stirring things up. Now, if I can only raise Judson while all this hubbub is going on. Oh, of course, I'd have to wait for the set to warm up. Hanson could have gotten that note to me a little quicker. The old boy's got him on the run. But how long he can keep it up remains to be seen.
Calling J24Y. Hello, J24. J12 to J24Y.
Here he is now. Hello, J12. Hello, Johnson. Bradford on J24Y to Johnson. Hello, J12.
I've been trying to get you for an hour, J24. Hello, J24Y. J12 standing by for emergency call. Something wrong your last message. Hello, J24. Hello.
Okay, J12. Listen carefully. Get this right. No time repeat or confirm. Our position correct as given you before. Latitude 29 south. Longitude 124.30 west. Island is colony of mad scientists. Surrounded by magnetic belt and radio beam trap.
Calling J24Y. Johnson to Bradford.
What's the matter, Johnson? Can't you hear me? Your signal is perfect here. Hello, Johnson. Hello, J12.
J12 to J24Y. Calling Bradford on J24Y. Your directional carrier faded an hour ago. No signal from you. Where are you, J24Y?
I'm not getting out. Something wrong with this set. Now, the skipper is keeping them entertained, but it won't do any good if I can't get through here pretty quick. Hello, J12? J12. This is Bradford on J24Y. Can you hear me, J12?
You can hear me. J12 signing off. Have several private phone stations trying to reach you. If you can hear this and need aid, get message to land station for cable relay. J12 standing by.
No, he's gone and he couldn't even hear my signal. That sounds like the search might be all over, and our one chance is gone.
You had no chance. Did you give me so little credit as to think I would leave your radio beam open just because some silly fool wanted to experiment with my punishment for attempted escape? Your directional beam is being completely absorbed by our metallic blanket. You may speak to me through your radio. If you can think of anything intelligent to say...
I have nothing to say.
You at least have that much intelligence, and for your satisfaction, I might add that your skipper is now my prisoner.
What are you going to do with him?
You will never see him again. Now, your friends are about to enter your cabin, bringing with them enough of the cloth you want so badly that you may line your council chamber with it. You may talk without fear of my hearing you, and plan more of your silly attempts to escape. But please do not compel me to remind you again of the stupidity of trying to use your radio.
I'll get that fellow someday if it's my last act.
Oh, Tex, I just heard the most terrible thing. Was that the skipper who tried to escape?
Yes, Pat, what happened to him?
They turned the full power of all the current on the island into the screens at the end of the piers. A man swimming within 100 feet of the end of those piers would be paralyzed and drown at once.
That's bad. For the moment, I'll have to ask you to forget it and help me rig up a screen of this cloth we have, big enough for the three of us to talk under at once. I have some news, too. Use the porthole screws and the backs of the chairs. Lay some on the floor. I've got to talk to you at once.
Will this be all right if I put some over here, Captain?
That's the idea.
We're almost hemmed in now. The floor is covered.
The radio panel will do for this side. Not much air in here, but what I have to say won't take long.
How can we hold it over our heads?
I guess we'll have to do just that. Hold it.
All right. There isn't a speck of light coming in any place now. Now listen closely while I tell you what happened.
Yes.
The skipper staged that escape so I could have a chance to use this radio without being overheard.
What?
That was what the note said that Hansen gave me.
And did you use the radio?
Yes, and the only one who heard me was G47. I should have known he would intercept my beam.
Did you get any of your message through, Captain?
Not a word of it. I could hear Johnson trying to call me all the time, but he couldn't even get my signal.
Oh, then it was all useless. And the skipper. Oh, Tex, I feel so badly about that. He was a fine man. And a grand friend of ours.
Now, keep your chin up, Pat. That's the one bright spot in the whole thing.
But, Captain, the skipper must have been killed. They always are when they try to swim through the electric net.
Yes, but the skipper didn't try to do that. He merely used my air rifle. Doesn't make a sound. And he shot through the portholes here so he wouldn't be seen.
Well.
Shot pieces of steel wire at the ends of all the piers at range the gun would reach.
No.
He knew those metal pieces striking the water would set off the magnetic alarm.
Then where is he?
Safe in a locker down on the keel. G47 tried to bluff me about having the skipper a prisoner, so they haven't located him. We can smuggle this cloth and food to him. We've got one more on our sides than they know anything about.
Oh, that is fine, Captain.
That almost makes up for the radio message not getting through. We've got a man whom G47 thinks is missing, and we may be able to use him in many ways. Good old skipper.
Now with this cloth, we may be able to do something with an idea Jerry had. Say, where is Jerry?
Why, we thought he had come here to you.
We saw the searching party return.
And Jerry wasn't with him?
No, Tex. He wasn't.
Oh, Mother, I am afraid for Jerry.